How am I? Let's see. I got one ear working right now, which is really messing me up. Like I feel like I'm like a weeble wobble. I need to go like this. My kids have stolen my charger cord again. I need one of you two guys to loan me a charger cord. For
we can do that.
I have a huge glistening wound on my leg. Like it's like blood, and I don't think it's infected, but it's maybe I should tweet out a picture. It's so disgusting. I cut myself yesterday, but I'm doing great. It is good to be back. I don't think I can do 2 weeks away again. That's too much.
Too much time?
Yeah, like it's just too. There's too many takes I wanted to have, and I didn't have it. And where am I going to give my takes?
There's a lot of things that happened while you're gone.
There really were.
I was actually thinking about this yesterday because my wife asked me about it. She's like, "What all has happened since Joe has left?" I was like, "A significant amount of things have happened since Joe went on vacation." And I was thinking just like purely from a Preds standpoint. Like I don't even remember if you were here when they traded for Ryan McDonough. Like I'm trying to think back that long ago. So they've traded for Ryan McDonough. Philip Forsberg has signed a new contract, and free agency has gotten underway. All since you've left.
Yeah, and then other stuff too. I was trying to keep track of it because I was like, maybe I should just do a complete take avalanche.
A list,
yeah.
Yes.
But no, a lot with the Preds, and although a lot hasn't happened too.
That is true.
I'm a little bit surprised we're sitting here right now on July 18th, and the Preds roster is what it is. So I need you to maybe explain some things to me that I don't understand right now about what the Preds are doing. There's got to be a trade coming, right?
That's what I think. Like
there has to be.
There's got to be a trade coming at some point, would be my guess. I mean, that's the beauty of a trade. It doesn't have to happen on July 1st, but that's kind of my guess as to what's coming.
Like Fabro, Tolvanen, Ingram, something for something.
Well,
they basically have told us that they don't believe in Connor Ingram, right?
Agreed.
I mean that's, and I completely don't understand. I don't know. It's one of those things where the underlying numbers are awful with Lankin.
Terrible.
But how much I still think underlying numbers can also be impacted negatively by a terrible team in front of you?
I agree.
Still, though, man, you put Connor Ingram and Lankin side by side, and I know that Ingram he's had ups and downs off the ice, and he had some real rough starts late, but he also had some good moments. I would probably pick Ingram.
Well, look, Connor Ingram's game 2 last year against Colorado, albeit probably somewhat of an out-of-body performance, was better than anything Kevin Lankinen did last year. By far. Not close.
Right.
So, it's weird to me, and I was talking about this with Jared, and he lost his mind when I brought this up. It's not only weird to me that Lankinen is the choice, apparently, for backup goalie, but you paid him more than you paid David Riddick last year. Like, David Riddick made $1.25 million, and now Kevin Lankinen's making $1.5 million. Like, it doesn't add up to me.
Right, and so that's $1.5 million that could really be useful.
Yeah.
In this, I mean, I really assumed by now that they would have some kind of top 6 forward signed.
Yeah.
You've talked about Kessel, and that, that's a low cost option, and something like that in that range, I guess, is still possible. But I thought that they would make a play for something a little bit bigger, and again, I still have to think they will via trade.
Well, that to me is the only thing that makes sense because, Vingan put it out there the other day. They talked to Nino Niederreiter and his agency, and they just weren't able to come to an agreement, which makes sense. Like when you think about the interview that Poyle did last week on the DDC right before free agency began, he basically talked about with the contracts that they have coming up next year, a multi-year deal may not be in the cards. Well, Nino Niederreiter's not signing a one-year deal. Like, I'd be very surprised if that happens. So it makes sense that Niederreiter to me is a guy that fits in with what they do. He's a clear upgrade in the top 6. But if you can't get him to a one-year deal, which I doubt you can, then that's probably not going to work. Like, that's why there are 3 guys that stand out to me: of JT Miller of Vancouver, Gus Nyquist of Columbus, and Alex Killorn of Tampa. Those are the 3 guys, and it could be somebody else too, but those type of guys that have 1 year left on teams that are cap strapped, they're going to have to offload some of those guys. And for the Predators basically just sitting on the bench so far in free agency, like it tells me they're working on one of those 3 guys. If they're not, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and Pacioretty would have been perfect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to think that they at least tried there.
That would have been perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so to review on the deals that you've got Jeannot, and certainly Jeannot is going to command,
if he does anything close to what he did last year, he'll make probably somewhere in the 3s or maybe 4s per year.
So Jeannot, Carrier, who to me also, I mean, I don't know. You tell me, if it comes down to with McDonough, if it comes down to one of the 2 young guys being deemed more expendable than the other, I think Carrier is more valuable right now to them moving forward than Fabro. I could be wrong.
I agree 100%.
So, and then of course you've got Trennan now going to arbitration,
which couple things to keep in mind there. You can still work out a deal before now and then. So you can file for arbitration. That happens pretty frequently in the NHL. A lot of those cases, they never get to the actual case itself. If he does get there, it's going to be either a 1 or 2 year deal at that point. So that's basically what that means with arbitration. Now, I'll say this. Arbitration hearings are not really a road that I think the player or the team truly wants to go down because it's not really pleasant in there. Like I remember when Shea Weber went through arbitration. It was, I think, the year before he signed that offer sheet with Philadelphia. It was this big thing. He went to arbitration. And basically the job of the team, once you get to arbitration, is to put together a case of why you're not as good as you think you are.
All the bad things
about you, and then you just air it out in public for this, third-party independent arbiter. So, it happened with Rocco Grimaldi. Like, a lot of people talked about it. It's not fun, and it's very easy for players to get their feelings hurt in this thing and for it to affect your relationship down the road. So, I think in a perfect world, if you're the team and if you're the player, you probably don't want it to get to that point. But if it does, it's not always the most pleasant thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe the language barrier will help. You can sort of.
I don't know what they said.
Slip in some big adjectives that rip Trennan, and it'll be lost. But well, he's important too.
He is.
Trennan is. So essentially, and honestly, I hadn't really thought as much in terms of you've got to be confined to a short-term deal. To me, if you had the right player, if you had the right top 6 forward that you really believe in, I still think it might be worth moving some stuff around to make that work, right?
I agree.
And I know it's easy for me to say that without breaking down exactly how you make it work, but regardless, you've got to at least get one of the guys you mentioned or something to have a chance to be better. Because right now, the Forsberg thing happens, and that's great. And by the way, kudos to you. As soon as I saw 8 for 8, I think Robby said that long ago.
A long time ago.
But again, that thing could have been done in November. I mean, the fact that it had to take all the way, it becomes this big celebration point. It's like, okay, well, you had to have Forsberg. You've got him. Good. But how are you progressing? How are you getting better as a team? Right now, they're just right smack dab in the middle of the league to me, which, as a lot of teams and fans will tell you, it's exactly where you don't want to be.
It's exactly where you don't want to be. And, a lot of the options at top 6 that I thought were really good fits are now gone. I mean, David Perron signed a 2-year, $9.5 million deal with the Red Wings. Like, that term to me would have been perfect for the Predators. He's an older guy. He scored 27 last year. He plays exactly the way that you want him to play. I mean, guys like that have been had. I mean, Dylan Strome, we talked about, who the Blackhawks just let go without getting any assets for, which is still amazing to me. 1 year, $3.5 million. I mean, I know not all situations are created equal, but there have been players that have signed contracts that I look around and I think, that might have been a nice fit here in Nashville. Now, there have also been some like Trocheck, and Trocheck signed a 7-year deal with the Rangers. There's no way in the world I would have given Trocheck a 7-year deal.
No.
I'm not giving Andrew Kopp a 5-year deal at over $5 million per like the Red Wings did. I mean, there have been there have been some contracts where I've just like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. And the Predators should have stayed away from it. But, a couple of guys out there that I think would have been nice additions. So if you don't get one of these guys via trade in the top 6, what do? You starting Tolvanen in the top 6 next year again? How'd that work out last year?
Yeah.
Not so great.
I guess you're going Tolvanen and Tomasino.
Yeah.
And hoping, I think with one of them, you could see it's not like it's impossible that Tolvanen could make a jump, but that's a lot of faith based on his last year.
A whole lot of faith.
And Kessel's still out there, right?
He is.
Kessel's still. Maybe that's ultimately.
And he's a guy that I think he'll probably be out there for a little while.
Yeah. Like you always kind of have that off to the side. To me, if you get down to it, okay.
Yeah.
Try that.
Why not? Exactly. We're off and running here today. Robby and Rexrode taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Preds, including a thought that I have about their defense score that I think could influence the way that they progress through the rest of this offseason. We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Attention furniture buyers. Social Furniture is having a huge summer blowout sale in all departments. Don't wait, buy now. Your new furniture can be delivered the same day. At Social Furniture, our professional staff is ready to serve you with your furniture purchase. Summer is the best time to buy new furniture at Social Furniture. The savings are spectacular. For a limited time, Social Furniture is offering special financing for up to 60 months. That's right, up to 60 months. Don't wait. Visit Social Furniture today to save.
Jump into the thrill at Bally's Evansville Casino. Play to win with lots of slots and live and electronic cable games. Visit the High Limit Room for an elevated experience. Take a break with a cold tap house brew or a snack at the deli. For more elegant dining, check out the flavors, river views, and music at Kavanaugh's. Enjoy a relaxing stay at the Bally's Hotel or the luxurious Legends Tower. Plan your casino getaway at Bally'sEvansville.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You're not required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-249-8866. 800-249-8866. That's 800-249-8866.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry.
We may now begin our day.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Talking Predators, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, there is a move that they've already made that I think totally dictates their future on the back end that makes me wonder if they're more willing to move a guy this offseason. And, you know, we brought up the Poyle interview. I mean, one of the things he was talking about was, well, the contracts next year. You got Jeannot coming up. We'll see what happens with Trennan. You've got Carrier. You've got Fabro. And I was listening to him say that and thinking to myself, well, you've also got Ryan McDonough that's come in making $6.75 million. Like, to me, there's no way that both Carrier and Fabro are on the team next year. Like, I just can't see and I'm not talking about this upcoming season, but the season after that in 23-24. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you're going to have to pay both of them, I think, a raise if they're still around. You're not paying one of those guys to be a third-pair defenseman that much money. So it doesn't make any sense to me that both of those guys would still be on the team a year from now. So I do wonder, with that in mind, like, could you be willing to move one of them this offseason? By one of them, I really mean Fabro. Like, could you be willing to move Fabro this offseason to maybe get out in front of that a little bit and get value back for him, and maybe that's part of a package for a top six forward? I don't know.
Well, I totally agree. I think that adds up, and my question back is, what's the interest level around the league in Dante Fabro? Certainly still very young.
Yeah.
Certainly skill. Has done some good things. I'd say overall has been disappointing. I mean, if he wasn't disappointed, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Well, I've said this. Like, if they had seen last year what they wanted to see out of Fabro, and I guess you could group Carrier in this too, but more specifically Fabro, Ryan McDonough wouldn't be on the team. Like, they're not paying $6.75 million for a 33-year-old defenseman for the next 4 years if they saw what they wanted to see out of Fabro, I think.
I agree. Now, some may look at Carrier. I know we have at least one person who works here. I'm trying to go as long as I can on my first day back without saying his name, who seems to think that Carrier is just awful.
Yeah, there is that.
I
think he's been significantly better than Fabro.
I do too. And he's been, obviously you're talking about different deals. When we talk about Fabro as a first-round pick, it's just a different. So you have to keep that in mind. At some point, expectations based on when you were acquired or where you were acquired, they don't matter. But I think just all things being equal, Carrier has been better. And I think he's part of their plans. That's speculation, but I do. And Fabro, I think Fabro and Tolvanen are those two guys who now you may have no choice but to give Tolvanen another chance. And I'm not saying that in either case there's no way that you could end up having a really good career and a good trajectory from here. But Fabro's, you track everything the last couple seasons, and it spells out a lot of, I'd say, disappointment and, the lineup changes and things like that. I think that speaks to John Hines at times being frustrated with him.
I think he does too. And, I wonder – and we've got that David Poyle clip that we could play from the DDC interview last week. I do wonder if that's something that he's looking at in terms of maybe a potential fit this offseason as a part of a trade. Now, the other part of this is, what's the cost? Because we've seen some of these cap-strapped teams already. Like Pacioretty, Vegas gave him away. Future considerations. That's nothing. You gave him away to Carolina. Like, I don't think that'll be the case if JT Miller's traded. He's a 99-point player and is 29 years old. Like, you're probably going to have to give up something to get JT Miller from Vancouver. I think you could call Columbus this morning and you could get Gus Nyquist for free, basically. I think the future considerations for Gus Nyquist you could do. I also look at his stats. He had 18 goals last year, 53 points. He's an upgrade to what they had last year in the top six. I don't think he changes the equation all that much for this team. So maybe you're shooting a little higher if you're David Poile. So I'm interested to see kind of how that goes. But here's what David Poile had to say last week on the DDC about the contract situations that they've got coming up and how that could affect what they do in free agency.
Well, this too is complicated, even more complicated than the Forsberg negotiations. Let's start with the salary cap. We're in a situation coming out of COVID where we've made a deal with the Players Association in terms of their salaries and payback and all that stuff, that the cap is only going up $1 million this year, and it's only going up $1 million for the next 2 years. So we, and along with all the other clubs, are kind of hard-pressed to, either letting guys go or not giving raises or, trying to do all of those various and different things. For us, we have some money to spend on a forward in free agency, but a long-term contract is probably not in the cards, because when I look to next year, the following year, 23-24, where the salary cap only goes up a year, we have a number of players' contracts that are up next year, whether it be Carrier, Fabro, Jeannot, Trennan, just to mention 4 young guys. So they're coming off of, most of those guys are coming off of entry-level contracts, and as they keep playing the way they did last year, they're not just going to get a raise, they're going to get a substantial raise. So I can't oversign, I guess, if that is the word. I could do it this year to get to the cap, but if I sign somebody to a multi-year deal, then something's going to have to give next year.
So that was David Poile on the DDC last week. And I guess it makes you wonder a couple things. I mean, it's pretty clear. Some of the money that they, I think, originally planned for as a top 6 forward, it went to Ryan McDonough, because he basically said in that same interview the McDonough trade kind of fell in their lap, and that's how they ended up with Ryan McDonough, which I think is a really good move, and I think makes them better, but it also cuts into your budget as to what you can do with a top 6 forward. That's kind of, to me, though, what makes the Lankinen deal even more head-scratching, because Ingram, I think, was going to make $733,000 this year, and now you've doubled that with Lankinen coming in for a goalie that I'm not sure is better than Connor Ingram. So, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot when you're just talking about an additional $750,000, but in a cap-strapped league right now, that adds up pretty quick, and I kind of still am just scratching my head over that one.
Yeah, add it all together. The little bit.
Paying Kyle Turris $2 million.
That's so funny. I was just going to say that you got that $2 million, by the way, that you're paying. And I'm looking at Lankinen, and he's young. He was decent in the 2020-21 season. A .909 save percentage. I don't know. I also thought, is there something we don't know about with Ingram or something? It just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't get it.
It's strange, and it kind of leaves you shaking your head as to what exactly that part of the plan is. That's the risky part. Like free agency, you're talking to guys, you're trying to come to an agreement, and hopefully you can do it. Like if your plan is to do it via trade, well, that's great. But it also is risky because they could trade whoever you're targeting to somebody else too. Like we saw it with Pacioretty. I thought Pacioretty made perfect sense for the Predators. It's a 1-year deal. You put him with Johansson. He's a guy that, even though he was hurt for half of last year, he was nearly a point-a-game guy. It's a 1-year deal. Going into it that you're not re-signing him when his contract is up, and you just play it out and see how it goes, and then reevaluate your top 6 from there. And I don't know if it was, Vegas not wanting him to trade him inside the conference, or if Carolina was the only team that would take on the full contract of Pacioretty without them having to retain salary. I don't know what it was. I don't know if the Predators even inquired about him. But to me, those type of guys make perfect sense. But those are also the type of guys that other teams around the league are going to be interested in that are in similar cap positions that you're in. It's hard to guarantee you're going to find somebody that way.
Yeah, no, I think that would have been perfect, and I just don't see how this team is markedly better unless there's you laid out some guys, some possible trades, and if any of those were to happen, that's at least something. You've got a lot of guys who you're hoping takes steps. Like Tomasino could be a lot better next year. There's other young guys on this team. I mean, Jeannot could keep getting better. But I still think Jeannot, because obviously I think some people would say, well, this is the time now for Jeannot to move up to the top 6. That's his destiny. I don't know that that's true. Also, I don't think I would want to mess with that line. I think that's one of your strengths is that that's your third line. So you just wonder, like I really hope that they were in the talks on Pacioretty. And like you said, Perron, I guess Steve Yzerman doesn't want to suck anymore. But
signed everybody.
It still seems like I still don't know how good they'll be, at least next year. But there's another opportunity lost, I think.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We will get to some of your Preds thoughts coming up next on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode. You're on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. This week, get an LG 70-inch 4K TV for $599 or a Whirlpool 4-piece kitchen package for $27.99. Save up to 50% in every department at Electronic Express. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an HP laptop for just $349 or a Samsung washer and dryer for $549 each. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
News Nation is news for all America, reporting all sides. Go to newsnationnow.com/join us to find News Nation on your television provider.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with us on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Michelle Knezevic down in Atlanta with Caroline Fenton for SEC Media Days. We'll be hearing from them throughout the show here today and throughout the show this week, and you can hear them this afternoon as well. So looking forward to that. Right now, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Wayne on the text line says, the Predators are targeting Miller, and Ingram is out of commission. This coming from Wayne on the text line. The JT Miller part of this is interesting. So JT Miller is a guy that has been a very productive player for a long time. Now, he took a big jump last year. So, traditionally, he's been around, 58, 60, 70-point guy. And you factor in some of these shorter seasons with Vancouver. So, he had, 43 points in 53 games in 21. And he had 72 points in 69 games in 20 when that got shortened. So, he's been a good player for a while. Last year kind of took it to a different level, 99 points in 80 games. You could be targeting a guy like that. Like, to me, and Elliot Friedman's talked about this a little bit, he's probably a guy that when whoever it is that trades for him makes that move, he's going to want to talk long-term deal, and I just don't think the Predators can give him a long-term deal. When you've got Forsberg making 8.5, Johansson and Duchesne making 8, you're going to add somebody else in there that makes – probably close to 9 would be my guess. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
Which it's for 1 year, like it could be perfect.
Well, and someone like that too, it's even when you were talking about Pacioretty, you also obviously, let's say things don't go your way next year, then you have you have the trading deadline too, right?
Yeah.
Like someone is going to want to give you assets for a rental if it goes that way. But man, that would be a major for next year. That would be a major upgrade for sure. My computer just died. Sorry, but it doesn't matter. We're not on Zoom.
It doesn't
for
matter.
A minute, I thought I was.
You
going
can take
dead.
that thing and throw it on the ground if you wanted to. This camera's on all day, baby. That's what we do.
What the heck is going on? Sorry. Anyway. No, JT Miller is
God, I've missed you.
Yeah, but it's you knew the hot mess was just coming right in. Just the hot mess just doesn't need any time to warm up. It's ready.
A couple weeks ago we had Dubin over there basically fist fighting with that microphone that you're in front of right now because it just kept sliding down and was broken. Vingen didn't have many issues last week. I don't know if it's been fixed or not. I think it's just been kind of in a stationary spot ever since then.
Thanks, Joe.
Matt on the text line says, it's a continually frustrating conversation about David Poile and the team he's built. We're now to a point that you can't make the team better long-term, but yet still won't consider the idea that they need to rebuild into something that will compete. This is coming from Matt on the text line. Like, it is interesting because I think we would all agree that the Forsberg deal is a good one and is necessary, and he's a really good player. But that does have you with 3 forwards locked in at $8 million or more. And then there's Yossi at $9 million.
Yeah, like I saw the reaction, and I get it because there was a lot of question. There was a lot of I understand some people. It was all Stillman, 100%. all along. But until you get it done, there is question. You don't know. You're not in someone's head. You don't know if maybe they're actually thinking of another franchise. So when it got down to it, I understood the reaction, but at the same time I was like, okay, this is what should have happened, could have happened a long time ago, and this is just to keep you where you are.
Exactly.
We talked. Look, I appreciate how long it took because it gave us content for months. How many segments did we spend talking about some angle of the Forsberg negotiation?
Quite a few, my friend.
So thank you to both the Predators and Philip Forsberg for that. But it's almost like because it took so long, it was celebrated like this huge deal that's going to be transformational. No, you're still in that middling spot that's just hard to get out of, and I obviously have not seen enough here in this offseason to think that they're going to get out of it anytime soon.
Look, I think they're better right now than they were when the season ended. Getting rid of Luke Cunnin to me is a net positive. That guy. I don't want to say waste of space out there because that's mean, but that guy was not good. last year. Ryan McDonough is a clear upgrade on defense. Like their defense, I don't know how they're going to do it and who's going to slide over and play at the right and how they're going to go about handling that, but their defense is significantly better right now than it was when the season ended. But there's still just a giant hole on this team. And we say there's one giant hole because I think that's the only one that they're able to fix in terms of one top 6 forward. I mean, you're just assuming that Philip Tomasino is going to come in the top 6 and play well. Like, That's the route I would go, and I don't blame them for going that route because there are times in a cap world where you just got to take a chance and hope it works out. And I think that's what they'll do with Tomasino, and he was encouraging to me last year. But there's a chance it may not work out, and he's not ready. And then you have him maybe not ready, Tolvanen maybe not ready. And then what do you do in top 6?
And you're also just counting on Duchesne and Forsberg to give you another 85 goals.
There's that too.
And Johansson, Grant. I mean, it's look, this team could easily miss the playoffs next year. I mean, I think right now, I think they're going to be right, just like last year. I think they're going to ultimately be right on the line. But last year, remember, they were much better than that, and then they nosedived a bit late. I just think this team next year, as constructed, without this deal that I think we both think is coming, is very much a fringe playoff team, and that's just, it's just not. It's not where you want to be, and I don't see the way out of it. I thought that a big move this summer was the only way to shake things up, and start moving in a different direction. I don't see the big one.
Well, the thing that they've got in their favor, the division has not gotten better. The conference has gotten weaker, I think, on paper in terms of the rest of the West. Like, Johnny Gaudreau going from Calgary to Columbus is a big deal.
How about that, by the way?
That was pretty incredible.
What a day for Columbus.
Shout out there, good Branson.
I thought it was going to be like they were the laughing stock of the sport, and then all of a sudden they were the toast of the sport. Johnny Hockey saves the day in Columbus.
It was just amazing. But Calgary is certainly weaker now. I mean, you look around the division, you traded away Kevin Fiala. If you're Minnesota, you've got those buyouts of Parise and Suter kicking in this year, so that's going to affect the way that they play. I think they're weak. They're still going to be good, but I think they're weaker than they were last year. Colorado, we'll see what happens with Kadri and where he ends up, but
they're okay.
They're going to be weaker.
Yeah.
They're still going to be very, very good.
Yeah.
St. Louis, I don't think has gotten significantly better so far in free agency. So
but they're better than the Preds.
Yeah, they're better than the Preds, no question. But I think things have broken okay for them in terms of everybody else in the West and how it's gone so far. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't then take the next step forward.
Yeah.
With your roster.
Yeah, and you could go through and do like a best case scenario. Tomasino, huge leap. No, Tolvanen last year was actually the aberration, and here he comes, and on down the line. I mean, Jeannot keeps getting better. I mean, that Duchesne and Forsberg, that chemistry is magic, and they just do it again. But even with all that, I don't know. I don't know how good this team can realistically be without something else.
I got a texter that says Kadri holding up other trades on the text line. So Kadri still has not made his decision as to where he's going to play next year. And this texter says maybe that's holding up some other things. I mean, I guess I could see that. Like, that's the thing to keep in mind. Like, everybody keeps looking at cap space and, well, you're going to have $13 million in cap space to accommodate his $9 million contract or whatever it's going to be. Not really. Like, I think Tampa has showed you. You can do some things and then move some things out. I mean, you can sign Kadri and you can be 10% over the cap until puck drop of the first game. So you got to find a way to get it down by then. But just because
who goes on IR then?
That's a good question. Yeah, if he goes to Tampa, like, is Stamkos just going to miss half the year? I don't know.
Yeah, just need him for the playoffs, man.
Just throw him back in there. But that is an interesting thought of, like, once that domino falls, could we see some other trade dominoes start to fall? Could be. It could be something that happens. I'm interested to see what deal he gets, because if somebody gives him 7 years at 31 years old, he'll be 32 in October. Good luck with that one.
Is that what he's holding out for? Is
I don't know.
Maybe? Yeah. But obviously, he timed it up well. I mean,
Yeah,
he's going to get overpaid. Very good player. And that was a guy we talked about as well. There was a lot of things we talked about that McDonough has changed, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's interesting here is Poyle, and I appreciate the frankness. I mean, Poyle basically laid out that this kind of came to him, and then they reacted and they got it. But that you wonder what some of the possible targets were before that happened. Like, did they? Is just a whole bunch of like scratching names out as soon as McDonough happens? Like, never mind on this and this and this.
But this goes back to a conversation that you and I had the day after the season-ending press conferences with John Hines and David Poyle, because we played an audio clip of John Hines that I kind of got off to the side after all that was done, and he talked about Fabro and Carrier, and I looked at you after that and said, I don't think that they're very convinced that those guys are top 4 defensemen. And lo and behold, here comes Ryan McDonough in here. So I think they've been looking for a top 4 defenseman the whole time. Yeah. I think it's been a part of their plan.
It makes sense.
$6.75 million. I don't know if that's always been a part of the plan, but when McDonough falls in your lap, I guess you go do it.
Yeah, well, right. And that's the thing is I figured that money, or that maybe there'd even be an overpay to address the forward situation.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, you still have to address the forward situation somehow. And that's where
they will. I can't imagine them getting through the rest of this offseason and another forward not being added. I mean, I cannot fathom that for the Predators.
How many of the possible names out there would be, and again, you don't know what's going to happen on the ice. But how many of those possible names out there would actually be satisfying to Preds fans?
I think very few. I mean,
it's a short list.
Let's say you trade for Nyquist from Columbus. Is that going to get people fired up? He's an upgrade. And I was talking about this with Vingan the other day. Quite frankly, it's not going to be very hard for them to upgrade their top 6 from last year with Cunnin and Tolvanen in there. It's not a very high bar that you got to get to. Now, you've then also got to hope for what you throw out there, which I think is the more complicated part of this, of Forsberg repeating what he did and Duchesne repeating what he did and Johansson scoring 26 goals. There's a lot that happened last year that I question as to whether or not that's going to happen as they move forward here. But just the idea of replacing Cunnin shouldn't be that hard. So I guess maybe from that standpoint, Predators fans are okay with a Gustav Nyquist. I don't think that changes the equation too much with this team. If that ends up being the guy.
At least it is someone.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. Sometimes just certain players work well together and it's a great fit. Bonino came in here, didn't have big numbers or whatever, but there's an example of a good signing that I thought worked out well for them when they got him. And you got to do something. And then it's the question of how much are you, if it is a trade, does Fabro actually move the needle for other teams, for example? I got to think he's part of it.
I would think that there's a strong chance that could be the case. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. More thoughts on the Preds coming up next. We'll get into SEC Media Days coming up at 7 o'clock as well. All that ahead. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible this morning and even into the afternoon hours. It will be a cooler day with a high of only 86 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
5X480. Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching. But a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home and auto.
In sports, 3 goals is a hat trick. And when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, you get a hat trick of great savings and round-the-clock protection. So you might be thinking, wait, that's 2 things. A hat trick is 3. But in this metaphor, great savings counts as 2 goals, and so does round-the-clock protection. So it's like 4 goals, and that's more than 3. It's basic math.
Forced Metaphors. Presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
First of all, I'm a big JT Miller guy. I love the way he plays. I really do. He's a bit of his personality is definitely edgy. There's no question about that. And he really has a major presence in a room. That's not a big deal. We all deal with edgy people all the time. I really like Miller a lot. I think Vancouver is looking to clear space, and I think you guys could really handle that. But I think they're asking a lot. And first of all, I should have probably considered this earlier. I think he'd be a perfect fit for you guys.
That was Elliot Friedman last week from Sportsnet on the DDC talking about JT Miller of the Canucks. 99 points last year, 32 goals. Really good player for the Vancouver Canucks. So, Joe, you heard Friedman kind of lay out the asking price there. Now, apparently it's been high from Vancouver, and they've not had anybody bite on that so far. I do wonder as it continues to go on throughout the offseason here, does that asking price come down a little bit when there's just not that many teams out there willing to take on cap at this point? My question to you is, if you're the Predators, how much are you willing to give up for what is probably going to be 1 year of a guy? I mean, it's a really good player. Let's say it is JT Miller, and he comes in and you've got your first line, quote-unquote, of Forsberg, Granlund, and Duchesne, and your second line of Miller, Johansson, and Tomasino. How much are you willing to give up for what's probably going to be 1 year of that? There's always the chance they could re-sign him and move some other players out, but in all likelihood, it would be 1 year for a guy like that. How much are you willing to give up if you're David Poile and the Predators?
I don't know. That's a great question. How good are you? I like JT Miller's really good. You laid out earlier in the show. He had a monster year last year. What does that make you for this next season with him?
Well, I think it makes you pretty good. Does it make you a Stanley Cup contender? Probably not. Although you start to think about it, if the first line approaches what they did last year, then maybe it's a different story there because the defense, I think, is going to be significantly better. And you do have UC Saros. I love the third line that they have with Sissons, and Trennan. So all of a sudden you start looking up and down the lineup and you're like, okay, I like a lot of what I see here. I still probably wouldn't put them in Stanley Cup contender status, but you're definitely a playoff team. I mean, there's no question you're a playoff team.
They'd be. They'd be interesting. It'd be like, okay, this could be something.
It'd be the most interesting top 6 they've had around here in a long time.
So what's that worth? I mean, what is the asking price? What do you think Vancouver wants out of this?
Well, I think
obviously they want players, prospects, picks, all 3.
Well, the part of this that you got to keep in mind is like they can't take on salary coming the other way. Like the whole point of trading JT Miller is because
they have to.
They got to shed some salary. So I don't think they're not asking for roster ready NHL players at the moment. They're probably asking for a prospect or 2 and some picks.
They can't take on a Fabro.
They could probably take on Fabro, and he doesn't make a ton. So they could probably take on Fabro, and maybe that's interesting to them. I don't know, but if you're the Predators, are you willing to give up on a guy like Fabro and maybe an additional pick for a guy that you're going to have for 1 year going into it? Like that to me it's an interesting question. Would I do it? Yeah, be interesting for me. It's Sportstalk Radio. I'd do it.
Yeah. Okay, but you do what is that? So Fabro, what pick?
I'd give up Fabro, and I'd give up probably a third rounder. Like I'm not giving up Fabro and a first rounder for a guy we're having for a year.
Because I mean, could this also be like somebody asking for an Evangelista or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't think it could be. But
do you think that they would go for Fabro and a third rounder?
I think they might. Do I think they do it today? That. No.
You think it might get there?
I think it might get there.
But again, we're and this happens a lot when you talk about these potential trades. Like whenever there's a player who like everyone in a market is like wants traded, then again you ask the question like why are they interested in Fabro?
Right. Well, I mean, the answer would be he's still 24? He's still really young.
He's 23.
He's 23 years old. He's a Vancouver guy, not that means anything, but he's from there, and you're hoping that you can be the place where he blossoms into something. Like that's the thing to keep in mind. Most guys in the history of the Predators organization, by the time they were Fabro's age, they were probably just now starting to get into the league. So it is a little bit different, the route that he's taken. And there have been moments where I've watched him and I said, okay, they got something here. Like I thought the beginning of last year, he looked really good. And I was like, wow, okay. He got significantly better over the offseason. And then as the season went on, I thought he faded. And, we've talked about it a ton. The defense wasn't good at the end of last year. So, it feels like he's been around forever. Last year was his first 82-game season he's played in his career. So, yeah, you got to keep that part of it in mind as well. And you don't want to be the team that gives up on somebody too early. But if you know that you're not going to have him and Carrier on the roster at the same time, which as of today, like I can't see that happening a year from now, then I think you should be open to anything if you're the Predators with Fabro.
Yeah, but then you also go the other way with that. If Vancouver knows that you've done the McDonough thing, they know that you basically have to unload him or one of those guys, but probably him. That goes into it too.
Sure.
Look, if that's for a year of JT Miller, I don't know. How about Nick? Nick, would you do it?
I don't know. I mean, you would have to give up a second, in my opinion. I know Robby said a third, but I think a second because here's the thing. Vancouver's still a rebuilding team. So you have to think about it this way. If they're a rebuilding team and they want to let him go, it's going to be a prospect, Fabro, and maybe a pick if they want to ask for it. It's going to be a pretty good negotiation. That's what I would have to say on that front. And while you were gone, I also did talk about Fabro a few times being traded. I might call my shot. So
he did.
May happen.
Nick zeroed in.
May happen.
Right. Yeah.
So I think you got a good chance of that one way or the other somehow coming through.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's there's a chance that could happen. That's the interesting question for a Predators fan is how much are you willing to give up for this team this year? Because it doesn't feel like a quote-unquote go-for-it year with me. Like, I don't think
turn it into it.
That would kind of turn it into it at that point, but I'm not sure that you're selling your farm for JT Miller at this point if you're the Predators.
Yeah. But look,
and to me, there's a big difference between him and Nyquist, and even I know Killorn's done a whole lot of winning, and he's a really good player. But to me, there's a pretty big difference between Miller and the rest of these guys.
Yeah, Killorn is Killorn's a nice player, but he does seem like one of those guys who, little bit of I think his status is elevated in some eyes because of what's been around him, and he's been a nice contributor to that. But what is he in a different situation with more on him, with less around him? You know how that happens. It happens a lot.
Well, and he's also, I'm trying to remember how old. I think he's 33.
Young. Yeah, he's not young. Well, look, I will say this, and like you said, it's not our money, but boy, it would be a lot more interesting around here if David Poile pulled something like that off.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm pulling heavily for it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that maybe Nick's right. Maybe it has to be a second rounder. Is that what it comes down to? Like Holt trying to wait it out, and hope that no one else gives them anything sweet, and finally they have to lower the price a little bit.
Well, think about it this way too: is look how many filler guys they picked up through free agency in the last week. There are a lot of people that they just signed to 1 year, 2 year contracts. And they just signed Zach Sanford 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of depth that they're signing. So they could be willing to trade something soon.
Yeah, they've certainly been busy with Milwaukee side of things so far in free agency. Not so much on the NHL side.
Hey, Milwaukee, man, keeps getting better.
That's
what
ready.
really matters.
Look at that goaltending depth in Milwaukee right now. Unbelievable.
What a battle it will be.
615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll switch gears. Look ahead to SEC Media Days beginning today in Atlanta. What are some of the most intriguing storylines heading into SEC play this year? We'll get into that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Sounds win.
We talk The Game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hello, Nashville.
Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations so you get the product you're looking for. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3. Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody's doing well. We'll take your thoughts all show long on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. SEC Media Days beginning today down in Atlanta, Georgia. So a different setting this year, not in Hoover, Alabama. Down in Atlanta. Am I right in saying it's in Nashville next year? Is that what I remember?
Yeah, I think that's right. It was supposed to be here in 20.
It was.
I think that is correct.
We'll double check.
It should be in Hoover every year, but hey, I'm just glad I'm not there. Wherever it is.
Doesn't matter where it is. Rexrode is glad that he does not have to follow Nick Saban around. By the way, our SEC Media Day coverage brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses, and hose fittings, seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection, cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it. Once again, that's Volunteer Hose and Gasket. So Michelle Knezovic and Caroline Fenton are down in Atlanta for SEC Media Days, and they'll have us covered all week down there, so looking forward to that. Joe, as things begin today, I think our dear friend Brian Kelly will be speaking today, so interested to see what dialect he's speaking in down there at SEC Media Days. But outside of that, what are some storylines that intrigue you the most heading into this year's version down in Atlanta of SEC Media Days?
Well, let's be clear. This is a largely worthless event, although I'm very excited. Michelle and Caroline are going to have some great stuff for us this week, and there's always something interesting. But the number one storyline, here's something I missed. I missed just absolutely losing my mind over for several days on the show. Freaking UCLA and USC are in the Big Ten. What a stupid, stupid thing college sports has become.
Oh, man.
Just so stupid. I hope that you guys absolutely blowtorched college athletics for several days while I was gone. What in the hell are we talking about here?
We're talking about the two super conferences is what we're talking about, because that's where it's going, buddy.
Well,
it's the Big Ten and SEC.
Yeah. So we're gonna have NFC Junior and AFC Junior, and great. Although maybe could it be 3? Like
it could be.
The only way. I mean, the Big 12 to me, like the Big 8 and whatever they are now, the Pac-6, they need to they need to join forces. It's just I mean seriously. So
You mean you're not excited for UCLA versus Rutgers?
Yeah. No,
and then fire you up?
Yeah, it's just brilliant. It's like, well, sorry, UCLA fans, you'll never, ever play Stanford or Oregon or Cal game, but how about this big Purdue game coming up? Maybe we can make up some stupid trophy for you to play for. But, hey, it's also not surprising, I guess. I will say that, like, Texas-Oklahoma, that was shocking last year, right? And
yeah.
That was both sides getting out in front of things, and it's going to be very beneficial to both sides financially. But it's still – and there's been hard feelings, and the expanded playoff is now blown up because of that. But, like, it still makes some sense. And you do get Texas and Texas A&M reunited, and there's some geographical sense to it, okay? Yeah. I mean, this is just like – What?
Well, I remember the days of when Missouri joined the SEC. I was like, what? They're not in the South? What is this? It makes no sense to me. And now you've got USC and UCLA playing in the Big Ten. Geography means nothing anymore. It's just totally irrelevant.
Well, and if you go track just like the Big Ten's moves, obviously they made Nebraska. Well, you go back, Penn State. Okay, they're an independent. I mean, you went to 11. People freaked out about that too. Like, Big Ten, but you have 11 teams. No one cares. But that was a big deal then. But still, Penn State, okay, that's a good ad. Nebraska, in terms of, although Nebraska has been dog water since they've joined the Big Ten, but it made sense at the time. But then you go before this, you got Rutgers, Maryland, which is like great. And that was all purely about cable subscribers. Yeah. Which really doesn't matter anymore. So now you're going to brands as what matters. I mean, TV network too. I mean, it's Los Angeles, but it really is about just the football brand. I mean, that's what it is. So, so much about this, and we haven't even touched on the SEC media days yet. But that's
how much do you? Because that's going to be all people talk about today. They're going to bring that up. I do wonder this week. How many coaches are going to want to even talk about this, and how many are just going to be like, I'm here to coach my team, my players. Let's talk about some football. Like, I'm sure there'll be some of that. Like Kiffin speaking today, Kiffin will probably talk about whatever. Like he'll offer up thoughts on this. I don't think there's going to be that many SEC coaches that do though. Like I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of talking about conference realignment. At least they're going to try not to.
Well, yeah, I think Kiffin gives you a good chance. I mean, Kiffin coached USC. I'm sure that he'll. I mean, look, it's like Lane. What if how would you have done if you were in the Big Ten? Could you have, beaten Minnesota maybe?
Would they have let you back on the plane before they fired you rather than on the tarmac?
I mean, he'll talk about it. Mike Leach, didn't Mike Leach already recently have some it's all about money? And like, yes, but not for you though, Mike.
That's right.
You are doing this purely for the student athletes and the love of the game, not your own money when you've moved jobs. Who else could possibly? Yeah, because look,
like you think Saban's going to touch this?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's probably it's going to be a lot of let's talk about my depth chart, and then it's like, but I don't want to talk about it's July 19th. No, don't. I mean, at least it gives you something interesting. I mean, look, that's what it's. This is the question is. And it's not really for like a Clark Lee or an Eli Drinkwitz. They're coaching their football teams. But I do have the long-term question of, at some point, are these leagues going to be talking about, if they're going to be this dictated by TV people, which is exactly what's happening. Yep. This is television executives are running college athletics. If that's going to be the case, is a Vanderbilt in jeopardy at some point because they aren't a football program that can compete at that level. I mean, my initial response would be, I don't think so. I don't think that at some point they're going to – but then again, who knows how this could get distorted and twisted down the road. If it really does just become just the AFC and the NFC college versions – expanded playoff, and it's just about. I mean, granted, it's not like the NFL doesn't have crappy, consistently awful teams.
Yeah.
I know of one about 8 hours north of here. So it's not like you have to, like everyone has to be on Alabama's level. But if you basically are trying to put together something where it's like we've got the top, 32 football programs in between these two leagues or whatever it is, top 40, could programs like that ultimately be jettisoned and be looking at a long-term, more of an Ivy type of existence?
What do you think Notre Dame does? Because there's a lot of speculation about them moving forward. Do they remain independent? It's going to be an arms race for the Big Ten or SEC to try to get them if they choose not to remain independent. What do you think ends up happening with Notre Dame, and how attractive would it be if you're Notre Dame to join one of those two conferences at this point?
Well, obviously they join the ACC and for their other sports.
Correct.
I mean, the question there comes down to, okay, let's track how much money, because the SEC and the Big Ten are about to absolutely just dwarf everyone else in their annual intake. But it just comes down to the numbers to me. Notre Dame has had its own TV contract for a long time. They can go to market. They don't have to stick with NBC. I think that comes up pretty soon. It may still be, and if they decide to stay independent, they'll still have a seat, whatever it is. They'll have a seat. I mean, it won't be, everyone will be mad at them, but I absolutely don't. It'll just be a special consideration for them on their little island, and they can still live that way. But it may end up being more lucrative for them long term to jump into one of these. I don't know the exact numbers of their and what they could get going to market with the TV deal. Because obviously if you don't have to share, that's pretty sweet. It's just that there's so much money being shared now by the SEC and Big Ten, especially moving forward.
Well,
it's going to be ridiculous.
Geographically it makes sense for the Big Ten to have Notre Dame, but as we've just learned, geography doesn't mean a whole lot. Like I could absolutely picture one day a nice SEC battle between Notre Dame and Alabama at some point.
Sure. Notre Dame, Georgia had some good games recently.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I don't. I mean, and there's like hard feelings going back between Notre Dame and the Big Ten. I don't know how much that matters anymore. I mean, Jim Delaney's gone, and they've tried a few times and things like that. I'd keep open. It would be hilariously dumb if they picked the SEC over the Big Ten. But again,
falls right in line.
We got USC Indiana coming up. Big Ten after dark next year.
Get excited. It's going to be a good time. 615-737-1025. We'll continue the discussion on SEC Media Days. How much hype do we think Tennessee is going to get this week down in Atlanta? I am very interested to see what that looks like. We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Turn him loose. Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
The hottest thing this season is Lowe's Summer Savings. Enjoy great deals all summer long at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Signs First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here. We've hit the halfway point of the baseball season, and you can turn big hits and dingers into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook before the Midsummer Classic. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up using promo code ROB. Place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. The Home Run Derby coming up. I'm going with Pete Alonso to win it for the third consecutive time, but you take it any way you want to take it. Maybe Albert Pujols, a little value there in his last home run derby. But you take it any way you want to take it. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Get in zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone. Get in zone, AutoZone. More details at AutoZone.com.
We want to hear from you. Thanks for taking the call. Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll have Corey Curtis from News 2 coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll get his thoughts on the Predators and his thoughts on the Titans as well. Just a little bit over a week away from training camp beginning for the Tennessee Titans. So looking forward to that. It's coming up a little bit later in the show, coming up at 8 o'clock. With Corey Curtis. Right now, looking ahead to SEC Media Days. Joe, one question that I'm interested to see how it plays out this week, because as we know, preseason SEC media predictions mean everything and are always accurate, and they're always things we look back at the end of the year and say, yeah, good job, SEC media. I'm kidding, of course. But I had my called shot on Friday, and my called shot was Tennessee is going to be picked second behind Georgia in the SEC East. And quite frankly, I feel great about it. Darren McFarland texted me after that, told me I was nuts. There's a whole lot of people that texted me on the text line and told me I was insane.
Really?
I feel pretty good about it. Like, I think Tennessee is going to be picked second in the SEC East.
I do too. No, absolutely. I think you nailed it. That's a good called shot because that reaction tells you people think you're wrong. But I totally agree. And there's been a couple random, I want to say maybe Athlon. Did Athlon have that? I think they did. Yep. They had Tennessee second. I think that's going to be popular because there's not a clear. I think it's Tennessee or Kentucky. Since Michelle texts us, said she's listening, let's give a little love to Will Levis and the Cats. And that will Levis alone. And look, an overall solid roster, solid program, good culture.
Oh, yeah.
That will convince some people to vote for Kentucky, to pick Kentucky. I think Tennessee will edge them out for second because, like, no one's picking Florida. I think
nobody.
Florida they could be kind of not great this year. So I think you're going to end up being right. It'll be interesting. Hendon Hooker. Tennessee it's not just like Vols media that gets enamored or Vols fans who get enamored. Speaking of the Vols, and this goes into this, I've seen they've recruited really well.
Yep,
really, really well lately. They're on a roll. Whatever you want to attribute that to me, it doesn't matter. If it's because of the Spire Sports, if it's because Josh Heupel's just crushing in the liver, whatever it is, they're recruiting really well. That's what it comes down to. They're accumulating talent at a high level. But I'm seeing, because I follow a lot of Vol Twitter, I'm seeing that, like, someone on Vol Twitter who I like, and I know, and he was in my little Vol Twitter thing at The Athletic, had this thing like, Dooley, Butch, and Pruitt, I'm paraphrasing. I mean, this job is not that hard. Like, it's just 3 straight guys who totally blew it, and now finally the guy's like, listen, man.
Let's calm down,
Butch
man.
was the exact same spot. Just please stop. Just calm down. We'll see what happens. Butch had huge classes early in his tenure at Tennessee.
I know.
He had like a number 4 and a number 6. Like, calm down.
But this is
don't know what's going to happen.
This is exactly what I was talking about. We talked about this the day that Josh Heupel got hired. We didn't like the hire, which right now it looks like you and I are wrong on that.
It does.
We'll see what ends up happening, but right now it looks like he's certainly already exceeded what I thought he could do on the recruiting trail. So it already looks different from that standpoint. But we talked about it that day. What happens if he does exceed expectations in his first year? Will Tennessee fans be patient enough to allow this program to develop at the rate in which I think it needs to develop? Which, as soon as he got hired, I was like, you know what? I don't like the hire. But you probably need to give him about 5 years. Like, that's what you need to do. And Tennessee fans are very good at stepping ahead of that and saying, all righty, here we go, baby.
Right.
Off and running again.
And so then he goes 7-5 this year.
I know.
And the negativity train gets rolling. I mean, that's how it has gone. So just look, it's good developments. These are good things. You still got to see if you can sustain it, and it's also like retaining your players, retaining your young players who don't immediately step in and star and get big NIL deals. Like, that's another part of this that you just can't predict. I mean, you can recruit really well, and then you can have a third of that class in the portal after 1 year. And that's a part of this too, is trying to keep a roster together, keep a quarterback room together, which they have kept the quarterback room together. By the way, I can't believe we haven't talked about Joe Milton yet. That's probably the biggest storyline of SEC Media Days.
Can't believe he's not there, to be honest with you. Thought he'd be there with Hooker alongside him.
Right? It's kind of an oversight on Heupel's part. I'm starting to question Heupel not having both of them there. But, no, I think Tennessee, I think there's going to be hype for them. That has not always been a good thing. But I do think that they have the team that can be second. And, again, that's the funny thing, too, is – hype for Tennessee, but you're just completely discounting that you could compete with, the top of the league right now. That's a little bit of a reality check of where things are. You got to let things keep building.
Well, look, I think a lot of it boils down to the quarterback position. I mean, it's what it is. I mean, you bring up Levis in Kentucky. Certainly, I think he's going to be really good this year. But with the offense that Heupel brought to the table last year, and with Hooker now in the second year of that offense, like, that's going to be what gives the people, I think, a lot of confidence in this Tennessee team. Because, look, I'll be straight with you. I look at this Tennessee team right now. Their defense scares the daylights out of me. Like, I think there's a chance that their defense could be very bad this year. I think their defense could be worse this year than it was last year. I don't know that, but just on paper, it is worse this year than it was last year. Now, could you have some younger players step up and develop and play better, and, year 2 of Tim Banks, all that stuff? Yes, and they could end up being a better defense. But the defense, to me, if I'm a voter right now, would scare the living daylights out of me if I'm Tennessee.
Yeah, they had tremendous tackle for loss numbers last year. They created turnovers. They made plays. They also had some really bad days, and in their last time out. Now, granted, they're also missing some key players, including their top cornerback, but they don't have him back this year. So. Yeah, I have real concerns about their secondary. They're going to miss Theo Jackson, Alante Taylor. I do like their pass rush. I think with some of those young guys up front take big steps, then I like that as a possibility. But they're going to have to win games. When they play good teams, they're going to have to rely on their offense to be absolutely elite.
John on the text line says, because recruiting's going well, everybody wants to play with Joe Milton. This coming from John on the text line.
Thank you, John.
Big recruiting pitch.
Thinking down the road, Joe Milton's 11th year of college next year. He's going to be throwing you the ball. Just you got to work on your speed. Get your speed up.
Young Nico being molded and guided by Joe Milton out there for a couple of years, and he's just ready to go.
Hey, man, everybody get your jokes in right now. Get your jokes in. I want to fast forward to next year's camp.
Yeah, can we just skip past this year?
I'm going to drive out there to camp like every day just so I can watch Joe Milton, just
sling
dimes all over the place.
Oh yeah. Dwight on the text line says, Joe, no more McDonald's bags full of money. This is coming from Dwight in Kentucky with a question mark. I guess the McDonald's bags are above board now. They're right there.
Right. You can you
don't even have to put them in the McDonald's bags.
You can wrap the Big Mac in 100
Yeah.
and just hand it over. It doesn't have to be inside the bag. That'll never die, will it?
No, it won't. The dark horse team to me in the East is South Carolina. I'm really interested to see where they land because, you've got Spencer Rattler coming in at quarterback. I don't know that I would put them in the same category as Tennessee and Kentucky right now, but if he plays really well, that can transform what they are. I thought Shane Beamer did a really good job in his first year. I don't know what to think of Florida. I have no clue what to think of Florida because everybody's down on Florida, and a lot of their fans are down on Billy Napier just because of the whole NIL stuff, and he has been very hesitant to embrace that stuff, and if he doesn't, they're going to get left behind and have been left behind so far. On the field this year, I don't really know what to make of them because they still do have talent.
Yeah. Well, they have had some big commitments lately, so whether that's an NIL thing or not, I don't know. But they've got a little momentum when they were really in tough shape recruiting. And I don't know. I mean, Anthony Richardson. By the way, shout out to Anthony Richardson for changing AR-15. I think that's a good gesture on his part. That's not going to be his name anymore. But he's their quarterback, and he's really intriguing. You see some throws he makes, and you're like, whoa. So if he puts it all together this year, they could have the rare opportunity for a Florida team to exceed expectations. I guess I shouldn't say that. They've had some kind of not great teams over the the last decade or so, but they don't look great on paper. He is the difference, as the unquestioned starter. There is a lot of ability there, so you can't just count them out. But this is like the year Tennessee's got to beat Florida this year.
You're at home.
Have to beat them.
You have to beat Florida this year. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. We'll have more thoughts on the Vols. Get to Vanderbilt as well. What are expectations in year 2 for Clark Lee, and what will we learn about this Vanderbilt football program this year? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Dell's Black Friday in July sale is here with up to $500 off select computers with Intel Core processors. Upgrade today by calling 877-ASK-DELL.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym. It was absolutely worth its weight in gold, so I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
615-249-4024. QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Coheed and Cambria. A window of the waking mind tour with special guests Alkaline Trio and Mothica. Coheed and Cambria live in concert this Saturday at Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit coheedandcambria.com.
Okay, import footage. How is the hard drive already full?
Jawan's Pilates studio converted to entirely virtual classes.
What's MPEG?
But leading and editing sessions is stretching her too thin.
It says render failed. What'd I do?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by conducting interviews on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I got some tickets to give away to see the Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Monday, October the 10th. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Caller number 3 at 615-737-1025 will win a pair of tickets to see the Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Monday, October 10th. 615-737-1025. One of my favorite things that ever happened last week, by the way. Darren was he was reading off the promo for My Chemical Romance concert coming up.
Okay.
And he just called it Chemical Romance. It was amazing. Just go see Chemical Romance, baby. Come on.
That's
And Willie was like, like your own personal Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance.
Oh, beautiful
Boy,
stuff.
Thank you for this. A.J. Dillon destroying the mascot. Holy crap. Is that guy okay?
He has since tweeted that he
Oh,
is.
my gosh.
If you missed it, there's a Packers running back A.J. Dillon running over. Which mascot was it?
It's some sort of, I think, fish. It actually looks like the nuclear.
The Kenosha Kingfish. Yes.
Okay. Oh, I see. That's a crown. At first, I thought it was like the Simpsons fish. You know, that's like right near the nuclear power plant. You know, but yeah, that's a crown. Okay, not like a third eye. Okay.
Got smoked.
Yeah, like if you're A.J. Dillon there, come on.
Yeah,
Like you've got to understand, this is not actually a training camp. Like he went through him like he was actually doing this drill in training camp. I mean, come on,
He
man.
knocked him back 12 yards. Ugh.
Wow.
Beautiful stuff. Shout out to that guy, though, for volunteering to be run over by A.J. Dillon.
Shout out to Michelle, too. Michelle and Caroline on the road. Shout out to Dennis Burnside, who did the Thelma and Louise illustration.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
That was
get
good.
that?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I
you
saw
got
that
it.
yesterday.
Yeah, Michelle tweeted like, I don't get it, but yeah. Thelma and Louise, underrated flick. But they're on the road, and she's mad that she's like, Kentucky, second WTF. So she's going to be upset if SEC media picks Tennessee over Kentucky.
I think it's going to be
I'm
close.
here for it. I think it's going to be close too. There is some like, well, you know, it's a big group, the SEC media, and there are some people who reject hype for the Vols.
Yeah,
and well, rightfully so in a lot of cases. So, but I think there's also people who get swept up in it. It's going to be close.
There could be some homerism.
I think you're going to be right, though.
At some point, too.
Well, there's that,
It's been known to happen in the SEC.
Well, yeah. You can just assume some of that for sure in the SEC. So, and that's a big press corps covering the Vols.
Is there somebody?
Big
My
press
question for you is this, because I don't think it will happen, but I've seen things like this happen before. Is there somebody out there that will vote for anybody other than Georgia to win the SEC East? I don't think so this year because they did just win the national title. But I am curious.
Well, they did. They also lost like
They lost
27 draft picks.
They did.
Not that many.
Stetson's
but a
back.
lot. Yeah, that's right. Stetson's back. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know who it would be, though. Because this happens in some years where there's like, there's maybe like a dark horse team, but it's like they get like one vote. I mean, who would it be? It would have to be probably a super Vol homer that would pick Tennessee.
Hendon Hooker.
But I think one year, didn't like South Carolina get picked or something,
Yes.
like when there was zero reason for them to be picked. Yeah. So, yeah. And this is there's more voting where everyone needs to reveal their ballots.
The SEC West is going to be interesting, too. I mean, Alabama's going to get picked to win it, but you've got A&M. You got Brian Kelly coming in year one at LSU. You got whatever in the world's going on down there in Auburn with Harsin. Like, it's a pretty fascinating division on the other side with some of these coaches.
Yeah, well, we don't even talk about the Mississippi guys.
I know.
Who are the two biggest characters in the league.
Yeah.
But, yeah, with Brian Kelly, that'll be his first SEC meeting. That's today, right? Does he kick it off today?
He does, and I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, there better be some questions. Actually, what we need is like Sparks. Sparks to ask him a question in Sparks' voice and challenge him to answer in the same accent. You know?
Brian, what caused you to talk in a completely different dialect than you ever spoken before in your life?
Brian, do you like white, creamy things?
You had any gator down there yet? One of those tailgates?
Yeah. He'll be interesting. By the way, Brian Kelly has recruited really well at LSU.
He has.
And that's a big part of what he talked about in the move. But Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame is possibly like blowing them away, and it looks like he's on his way to the best class in Notre Dame history.
Yeah.
So kind of disproving what Brian Kelly's point was when he moved on.
Yeah. Westside on the text line says, I'm a Vandy fan. I agree. It's second in the East for Tennessee. Now, do we think that this is legitimate from Westside, or could there be some potentially setting up Tennessee to fail?
Well, I think Westside just agrees that media will overvalue Tennessee.
Okay.
Right? And Westside's, probably right. Speaking of Vanderbilt, I think that it's interesting this week that Mike Wright is going to Atlanta.
I was going to ask you about that. What does that tell you about where the starting quarterback job may currently sit with Vanderbilt?
I think that he's going to get the opportunity to do it. I'm not counting Ken Seals as purely the backup yet. And frankly, there is a camp, and I think that although so many of these quarterback competitions during training camps are fabricated or manufactured, I do think that there is one there. I think Ken Seals can still fight for that job. But based on what I heard about Mike Wright in the spring and the strides he made, I just think if you're Vanderbilt and you are at a disadvantage at so many spots, when you have someone who can do some of the things that he can do, he can change a game with a couple of big plays. I think it makes sense to lean in on that if you can get him to do the quick, easy stuff on a more consistent basis. So I can't look at this and dismiss it, you know?
No.
I think it means something. I think it also means, apart from who's the starting quarterback, Mike Wright is going to be like a great representative for Vanderbilt there. Like, he's really good, with media and things like that. Like he'll be really good there. So that's part of it too, I think. But then again, Ken Seals is as well, and I can't just dismiss this. I think Mike Wright is probably going to take the first snap of the season for Vanderbilt, and I'd guess right now that he plays more than Ken Seals. I'm not convinced that it's just purely Mike Wright.
Well, I don't really want to see a two-quarterback system if I'm Vanderbilt. Let me rephrase that. I think Mike Wright and his ability to run brings you an element that, quite frankly, Vanderbilt just doesn't have enough athletes at the moment. So he's by far, I think, their best athlete on the field offensively. So I understood the approach last year of Ken Seals being the starter and then Mike Wright, getting some touches in the game. Like, if Mike Wright's going to be your starter this year, then just go with him. Like I don't want to see a Mike Wright, Ken Seals every other series switch if I'm a Vandy fan.
I agree. Like the platooning thing, and it's almost like Mike Wright and what he did previously well is it's more like the changeup, traditionally. Whereas if Mike Wright can handle everything about the position, then I think you have to go with that. Now, look, if Mike Wright, you go 6 straight possessions without points, you have like 5 3-and-outs, Ken Seals can play. And so I do think we're going to see both this year. They're going to play some teams that are going to overwhelm them this year. And so switching up at quarterback, it's something you can do. I mean, look, Ken Seals it's one of their strongest positions in terms of depth. They have 2 guys who can do it well. At other positions, they're looking for 1.
Right.
But I'm with you. I think the plan of like a 2-quarterback plan of like you're going to get this, you're going to get that. I don't think that they should go into it with that mindset.
Coming up next, it is time for the Rex Rant. Joe Rexrode is back in the house for the Rex Rant. We'll get to that next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
2-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible this morning and even into the afternoon hours. It will be a cooler day with a high of only 86 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Tennessee has never been a stranger to progress. And with all the changes going on, people want an affordable way to protect their families, which is why so many Tennesseans trust us. At Farm Bureau Health Plans, helping people find peace of mind has never gone out of style. Just click fbhp.com, call us, or visit one of our many offices. Farm Bureau Health Plans, protecting Tennesseans since 1947.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe here to tell you about my drink of the summertime. You know it, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Screwball is the first and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. And it's an original, just like me, the suit. I take Screwball as a shot, but it's great on the rocks, in an old-fashioned, an espresso martini, and many other recipes. So next time you're out and about, ask for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022, Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Robby Stanley.
Sometimes the overthinking that takes place, pretty mind-boggling.
Joe Rexrode.
Thought there was an issue. There's not an issue. There's no issue. They're doing wonderful.
Wake up and hang out with Robby and Rexrode every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
Taking care of business this early in the morning.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I do not want to deprive people of a close-up of my face.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donick.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. The time is now for the Rex Rant.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
On Robby and Rexrode, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm here with my family. I'm here with my family.
I spent last night in the arms of
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. Our good friend Brian Kelly bringing us back in today. Looking forward to his comments a little bit later today at SEC Media Days. Joe, it's been over 2 weeks since your last Rex Rant, so maybe some things building up that you can now let off your chest.
There are a lot of possibilities. I mean, I think I might need a week of ranting about Adam Schefter at some point. And his stupid. Did you read that Washington Post story about Adam Schefter?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll save that one. There's a lot of stuff. The USC-UCLA thing could be there's a lot there, too. But I'm going to go to something that happened to me on vacation. This was part of the staycation aspect of the vacation. I took one of my kids to the doctor. And actually, we were at Vanderbilt, and they have a parking ramp. And this is something that's bothered me on and off throughout my life, I feel like. But on this day in particular, I thought about it, and I was like, why would you ever do that? There are a couple instances or situations where it's okay, I think, to back into a parking spot.
Sure.
I would say if you are at a game or a concert, a big event where it's going to be a total hassle getting out and, trying to back out and then you try to get into traffic. If you can just, pull straight out in, it saves you a little bit of time. I get that. This was a parking ramp, just people, parking in the ramp and then going in, to the doctor, getting out whenever they get out. And for the most part, there's no one in the ramp. I mean, there's traffic coming in and out a little bit. This person stops, has an open spot in front of me, and I'm like, okay, they're going to pull into the spot, take a left, pull in the spot. Instead, doing the hold on, now I'm going to back into the spot. So I'm sitting there behind, and this is two-way traffic. So now there's a car coming that way, and I'm sitting here, and we're waiting for this guy to back his car into the spot. And nope, don't quite have that right. Let me pull forward a little bit. Now let me back up a little bit. Hold on. No, let me pull forward. Dude, pull your freaking car into the spot, and then when you leave, you go in reverse, and then you drive out of the ramp. Like, what did you gain? You made everybody wait, and what did you gain? When that guy left, I promise you there was no one there.
Nobody else, yep.
So if you drive into a spot, it's snap your fingers, you're done. And if you back out of the spot, it takes a couple seconds, and you're fine. Instead, you waste everyone's time for what gain? And I've seen this way too often. Some people are obsessed with backing into a parking spot when it's like a parking parking lot at Target or something. What are you doing?
Just pull in, man.
I don't. And then, by the way, he backed in, took all this time, and of course, finally I drove by, and I didn't flip him off or anything, but I tried to give a little
small stare,
little look, come on. And as I looked, the car to his left was totally closed. There's no way that if there was a passenger side person on the left of it, no way they're getting in that car. So even after all that time, you did a crappy job of it probably because you felt rushed because there's all these cars waiting on you. All you do is pull into the parking spot.
It's amazing.
I don't understand it. It's so there's some situations where it's okay. Very few. Other than that, you're just wasting our time. Please stop doing it.
Well, I feel they have to back in. But what you just brought up is typically the case. Very rarely do you see the person backing in where they get it right on the first time. It's always some adjustment that goes on,
right?
Especially in a parking garage. Like, there's
tight angles.
You go down. There's tight angles. The worst is like when you got like some Ford F-150 in there trying to back in, and there's like the spot's barely big enough for your truck anyway.
It's hard enough going forward to create the right space.
And you're trying to back in, and it takes four attempts to get there. Never does the person pull in as they're backing in and fill up the spot correctly the first time. It's always 2 or 3 chances. So just pull in there, man. It'll be all right.
William said, Billy from Bellevue on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says trucks have to back in. It's simple science.
It's not simple science.
Are you messing with us, Billy from Bellevue? Yeah, that's the worst case. This was just a car. And still they took like 3 different times to get it right and wasted all of our time.
Yeah. I got a text that says, you don't park on the ramp. The ramp is the entrance and exit to the parking area. So somebody getting very technical with your usage of the word ramp.
I said in the parking ramp. Yeah. They're not called parking ramps?
That's what I called them. I don't know.
Is that true? Is that
parking
something?
Garage, whatever you want to say?
So you have to say parking garage or structure. Parking ramp is inaccurate. Is that right?
I don't know. There's a ramp in the parking garage.
You may have a point, but I called a parking ramp.
John on the text line says, I had a buddy like this. Even in empty parking lots, he would do it, and it would make me irate. It's coming from John.
That's the thing. Like, I've seen this a lot of cases where it doesn't affect me, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, seriously, like whatever. It's like a big outdoor Walmart or whatever parking lot, and there's space around them, and they're backing in. I'm like, why are you wasting this time?
I will say this. I would say I back in probably 10 to 15% of the time, but it has gone up with the invention of the backup camera. Now that I know that I can line myself up exactly where it wants to be, the backup camera, I'll do it a little bit more.
Okay.
With the backup camera.
So you do it when? Like, what are these
I don't do it
situations
in a parking garage. Like, I'll do it when I'm at a sporting event for sure and I want to get out of there, or if I know that I'm going to a place where I want to be the first one to leave. My number one rule of adulthood that I learned from my father that I will one day pass on to my children, always have your car. You can leave whenever you want to. You always have your vehicle. That's how I typically operate. So if I know that I'm going to a place that I want to get out of,
always be the one who drives, you're saying.
Always be the one who drives. So
Yeah.
you can leave whenever you want to leave.
Yeah.
That's the number one rule of adulthood.
Yeah, again, if you're in a situation where it's going to be crazy traffic afterward, it's worth. Now, if you're making, lines of cars wait for you to do it, it's kind of a pain in the butt. But you know what? If it helps you later, then I get it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it really doesn't help you. It just hurts other people.
Maddie on the text line says, I back in. It's easier than pulling in forward due to the front wheels being your pivot point, but I do get it right the first time. It's coming from Maddie on the text line.
Okay, Maddie. You get it right the first time every time.
Do we believe them?
No, and wait, how is it easier than pulling in forward? Is that true? No, that's not true.
I don't know.
I think are you the guy, Maddie? Were you the guy?
Maybe so. Got a text that says backing into a parking spot is often a sign that the driver doesn't want their plate seen. The plate could be expired or stolen or not belong to that vehicle. So maybe some nefarious activity going on, Rexrode.
Okay, so basically we figured out these people are all criminals.
Criminals that back into parking
These
spots.
people are criminals. JD says he feels my rant in his bones. Thank you, JD. And then he tells a long story about his parking garage. Yeah, I'm with you, JD. Thank you. Thank you for the support.
Cody on the text line says there's a lot of crazy people out there, Rexrode. You got to be able to pull off if you need to. Just get on out.
So I'm interested yeah, that's true. I'm interested in the parking ramp thing. I've never heard that, but actually it might be a good point. I mean, I'm Mr. Like you can't say bye week.
That's true.
So I want to make sure that we're being accurate.
Well, Kyle on the text line says, as an engineering inspector, our plans and blueprints called it a parking garage. That being said, most people know what you mean if you say a parking ramp. This is from Kyle.
But why, now that I think about it, why do we call it a parking ramp? I have, like, for my whole life.
I mean, there are ramps inside the structure.
Yeah.
Multiple.
I mean, it's sort of like one big ramp, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's maybe the idea, right?
Yeah.
I don't know,
We
though.
may have uncovered something today.
I may have to switch, so thank you.
Ron on the text line says, do we back in more than we parallel park? I would say for me, for sure.
Yeah, and look, parallel parking, I mean, when you do that, you have to do it, right?
Correct.
And frankly, honestly, like I think I'm more confident in my parallel parking than I would be in backing in a spot.
Oh, I'm way more confident in backing into this. I hate parallel parking.
Yeah.
Will not do it. I will drive somewhere else to go park rather than parallel park.
Yeah. I take it as a challenge because when you get that right the first time, that's like, yes, you know. But that's essential. I mean, you're on a street and you have to do it. I think there is more of this, and I think that most of this is unnecessary.
I'm going to start paying attention to this as to how many people do this. Because I will say the doing it in the Walmart when you're like, there's no cars within 10 spots around you has always been pretty funny to me.
Right. It's
back it in there, buddy.
If you took the total time of parking, granted, if you get it first time, great, okay? But for the most part, you're not going to. So take the total time of having at least a couple cracks at it, and then, yeah, you can turn on your car and immediately drive out. But again, go forward into a thing, and then just back out and go. I promise you're taking less time to park if you do it the normal way.
Megan on the text line says, if you're dead set on backing in and there are people behind you, you pull in, you let them pass, and then you do your thing. This is coming from Megan on the text line.
Well, another thing that I have done a couple times is I could tell that they're not done.
Yeah.
But they're in enough, and I just go by.
Just zoom right around them? Oh, yeah.
And they may not have intended for me to go by, but I don't care. If you leave that
I'm not sitting here waiting
room,
all day for you to figure your stuff out in the parking garage. Not going to happen.
Yeah. It's inconsiderate, and again, it's unnecessary.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Corey Curtis from News 2. We'll get his thoughts on the Preds and the Titans with training camp just over a week away at this point. That's coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You love the game.
Duchesne scores! Titans touchdown!
We live the game.
He's more of a physical receiver.
Are you looking for him? Is he making plays?
We are.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome
game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Summit offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Hermitage location specialize in general orthopedics, sports medicine, and hip and knee pain and injuries. Get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Conveniently located in the TriStar Summit Medical Center in Hermitage, right off I-40. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Coheed and Cambria. A Window of the Waking Mind tour with special guests Alkaline Trio and Mafika. Coheed and Cambria live in concert this Saturday at Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit coheedandcambria.com.
Stop buying tickets without rewards and start getting more from the only ticketing company that rewards you for buying, Vivid Seats. Buy 10 tickets, the 11th is on us. That's like 10% back every time you buy. And with 100% buyer guarantee and over 100 million tickets sold, that's something to sing, laugh, cheer, scream, buy about. Head to vividseats.com for terms and conditions. Vivid Seats. Life happens live.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami. Jules in Minneapolis and Stan in Central Indiana. Taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations so you get the product you're looking for. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Hour number 3, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And as we do every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Corey Curtis from News 2, presented by Smokeville Smoke Shop. Corey, what's going on? How are you?
I'm delightful, gang. How are you?
We are great. I hear you are quite the fisherman on vacation down there.
I'm not quite the fisherman, but we caught some fish. We had a good time.
There you go. It's good to have you back here in the area. So, Corey, we'll start on the Preds front of this. Just in general, as you look at their offseason thus far, bringing in Ryan McDonough, you re-signed Philip Forsberg, still no top 6 forward at this point, and you address the backup goaltender position with Kevin Lankinen, a guy that was not very good last year. What do you make in general of what the Predators have done thus far, and with the picture I would assume still being incomplete and a top 6 forward still to be found at some point down the line here, what do you make of how much better they are at this point?
Well, we all expect Connor Ingram to be the backup, right? So, I mean, I don't put a lot of stock into the Lankinen move because I expect Connor to be that guy. I think financially he helps you be that guy as well. I really like the McDonough move. I mean, I just don't think he's a good player. I think he's the right kind of player, and I thought they really needed to get better defensively. So, you know, I think that move makes them better. You know, we'll see what they do for a top 6 forward and see how much better they can get on that end. I mean, it's important not just to throw, you know, money at a guy. I mean, like we talked about it yesterday. You know, Phil Kessel's scored a lot of goals, but doesn't skate very well at this point. You can't just bring a guy in to bring a guy in. You'd almost rather, you know, save your money and see what shakes free at the trade deadline. If you can't get it done now, then make the wrong signing.
Yeah, I agree. I guess we've talked quite a bit about this today, Corey, just about the idea that a trade seems to be happening soon. I mean, I have to think so, given the logjam now. Logjam really at backup goalie and on defense. So there are some other possibilities. If Poyle, if they don't do something like that, they or maybe they sign like a Kessel and that's that, what would your outlook be, first blush, just for this team in this coming season?
If they kind of go in standing pat,
yeah,
where they are right now,
or stand pat with a maybe, you know, a smaller level signing.
Well, I mean, I think we're still looking at, you know, 7-8, right? I mean, you know, and look, I don't know what everybody else is going to be, except I know Colorado's going to be really good. And the Blues are probably going to be, you know, really good. The Blackhawks are obviously, you know, blowing it up and starting all over again, and we'll see what they are there. But, you know, the thing that we all struggle with, I believe we all struggle with, is the fact that they got career years from so many guys offensively and still barely made it into the playoffs. And that's why, I thought defensively it was so important to get better. I don't know that we can expect to see 40-goal seasons from Forsberg and Duchesne at the same time again. Now, maybe you don't have to because Tomasino is better, or Jeannot puts together an entire season, or, Trennan takes the next step, or Tomasino and Tolvanen step up. So I think those guys can answer some of those questions about how this team gets better. But until they do, I don't know how much you can expect them to be that. And so, I don't know, that you can say you're a cup contender. I think you're certainly a playoff contender, and you got a chance once the postseason gets here. But when you look at those elite teams, you feel like you need another piece to have a chance.
Corey Curtis from News 2 with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Corey, switching gears to the Titans, just a little bit over a week away now from training camp coming up over at St. Thomas Sports Park. Let me ask you this. If we get through the first day of on-field activities in training camp and Traylon Burks is not a participant or is a limited participant, what will be going through the mind of Corey Curtis?
We've talked a lot about that young man, this entire spring and summer, and I get it. And I think, the last 2 years have a lot to do with that as well, with everything they've done with their last first-round picks. I'd just like to see him play, at this point. I know everybody would like to see him play, at this point. I know we put out this doom and gloom, scenario for him. And, part of that is because of the lack of information that we get, that we can only speculate. And that makes it tough, for us and for fans to know what to expect. And I guess if he's not out there, it would make you worry. It would make you worry that he's going to be ready when the regular season gets there. Because now Mike did assure us that they were supremely confident that he would be ready when the season got here. And so, if he's not ready on day one and we don't see him out there, I would have some concern and some trepidation as to what the long-term prognosis is. But, the fact is the young man just played the last 3-4 years at Arkansas and got through. So I have to believe he's going to be able to get through no matter how bad the air is here to get through. Because all I know is last night I woke up with a dry mouth and a dry tongue because I could not breathe.
Yeah, it's man. He needs every single rep he can get.
Yeah, he does.
There's another on the other side of the ball. What do you think the chances are that Jeff Simmons isn't on the field to start?
Without a new contract?
Yeah, I'm assuming that there's not going to be a new deal in place before camp starts.
I would have to think pretty good. Because he wouldn't practice. And that's all we can say from what happened at mandatory OTAs. Is he wouldn't go out there, for whatever reason that made it the best scenario for him. Wouldn't go out there, for those workouts. I have a hard time seeing him going out there at the start of camp unless the team convinces him, hey, we've got you for 3 years. This is the deal. But I think they want a long-term deal with him. And I think he wants a long-term deal with them. But I don't know that he goes out there without a new contract. I just don't. I would kind of lean against it at this point.
Corey, how do you think they should handle Robert Woods in training camp? And I asked it for this reason, because the passing game right now, it's such a question mark on paper with this team, and you hope that Robert Woods and Tannehill can get every rep together that they can, but he's also coming off a torn ACL. So how do you think Vrabel and the Titans go about handling that?
Well, we all saw him at minicamp and in OTAs. The guy looks amazing, amazingly good for coming off that ACL. And you brought it up. With Ryan Tannehill, what we have seen over and over and over and over again is he likes to throw to the guys that he's the most familiar with, the guys he's gotten the most work with. Robert Woods is a pro, and I just don't mean that he's a professional football player. He's a pro's pro. He's going to do what he can do and what he knows he can do. So I would trust him to set the tone for how much work he thinks he can put in, and I would let him get in as much work as he possibly can, because as you said, he also hasn't gotten the work with Traylon Burks. And unless you're planning on going out there with NWI and Kyle Phillips being your 1-2, and or Malone, I mean, those guys need to be out there, and they need to be getting in as much work as they possibly can. So, like we've seen the ACL come a long way. We had somebody ask last night about what's the difference between Julio Jones and Robert Woods, and why trade one injured player basically for another. And as the injuries are completely different. That soft tissue injury can continue to come back because it never recuperates its full strength. And the ACL, once it's healed and ready to go, it's healed and ready to go. And, they've done that surgery a gabillion times to where it's almost kind of standard in the NFL. I mean, it used to be like a 2-year injury where you knew like the next year you probably weren't going to get anything from the guy. And now it is basically we'll see you next year. And, I think, didn't Adrian Peterson go for 2,000 yards after ACL?
Yeah.
And Johnny Smith looked better than ever after his second ACL. So I don't worry about those injuries quite as much anymore because they're better at it. And Robert Woods is a pro. So I expect to see a lot of Robert Woods in camp.
Corey, what do you think is the most we can know about Malik Willis by the time camp is finished? If that makes sense.
I think we'll know a lot because don't you think he's going to play a ton in the preseason? I mean, a ton. Yeah. And so, look, I think we'll get an idea about his ability to recognize, the professional offense and the professional defense, and what open is, and what his expectations are in routes, how quickly he can get rid of the football. That's one of the things that I'm anxious to see. How quickly can he drop back there and recognize, where the ball needs to go? Because we've seen a lot of rookies get frozen back there, like a deer in headlights. And what did Sam Darnold say? Seeing ghosts back there. I mean, so, we'll see, how quickly he picks up the cerebral, part of the game. We already saw him tinkering with his throwing motion. And I think the other thing we'll see is how much is his athleticism a part of what he's going to do at this level, and what are their plans for him? I mean, they're not going to unload the whole arsenal saying this is what we're going to do with him, but we'll start to see some of the things he can do athletically. I think he's going to play so much that we can learn a lot about kind of where he is at a base level and see how far he has to go. I don't know about you guys. I was kind of pleasantly surprised when we saw him at OTA minicamp. I thought he had good days. I thought he had some days where he didn't look as good, but I thought he was better than I expected, and I look forward to that. Here's the things I look forward to seeing in preseason, and not that I look forward to him unseating Ryan Tannehill in Week 8. If Tannehill struggles this year, he's going to take the job next year. But was the pick worth it? Was that third-round pick worth it? I think that's one of the things that I want to see.
Corey Curtis from News 2, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Corey, congratulations, by the way, to your Chicago Bears for acquiring N'Keal Harry. Probably going to be the move that puts him over the top. What do you think?
You know what? It is. And, if he was on the Green Bay Packers, he might be their number one right now.
Ooh, that was a good call. Ooh, yeah. Come on. There we go. I like it.
I noticed everybody's afraid to even talk about the Lions arsenal. We don't even want to get into that.
Yeah.
Speaking of receivers, and I'm going to take more of your time, so I apologize.
That's fine.
I was looking. The over/under numbers came out on receivers and tight ends over the weekend, and I was shocked at the A.J. Brown number. It was 1,025 over/under, and look, that's basically his career with the Titans. But the way everybody's pumped him up is that he's a 1,600-yard guy, and so when I saw that number, I thought that's for the way everybody's been talking about what he's going to do there with Joe Willie Namath, Jalen Hurts. That that he was going to put up 1,600 yards this year, and Vegas is saying, no, he'll be lucky to get over 1,000, or he'll get right up over 1,000. I thought that was interesting. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was a flat-out baller to finish the season for the Lions last year, they only had him at like 100 yards. And I'm like, do they know something that I don't know? Because all I know is when I watch this kid the last 6-7 weeks, he can play.
You underestimate Detroit Lions receivers at your own peril.
Well, ace quarterback Jared Goff likes to spread it around, man.
That's right.
You know? He keeps defenses off balance, so you got to keep that in mind too.
Calvin Johnson and Herman Moore did all right.
Yeah, I'd say they did.
That's true.
Freaking stuff.
I mean, can you name 2 Packer receivers?
Yeah, Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Okay, yeah. Sammy Watkins is now at the point in his career. Look, he's making $4 million. It would take me the rest of my life to make that. But he's down to that point now where he's at 1 year, $4 million, and they still talk about him like he's a guy. He is the epitome of having Jag on the back of his jersey. He's just a guy. He has never been what he is supposed to be. And just because he was a first-round pick 10 years later doesn't make him a weapon. And just because Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback doesn't make him good. Just like Randall Cobb is still old. And Alan Lazard has never proven anything, even with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. They're talking in Kansas City like, who's the Valdez-Scantling?
Oh, yeah.
Did he go to the Chiefs?
MVS.
He's the best receiver in Chiefs camp. I'm like, if he's the best receiver in Chiefs camp, they're finishing in 4th. That guy stinks. He's terrible.
I love it. Corey, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right, thanks, guys.
Beautiful stuff. We'll take your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Corey, not very high on my Green Bay Packers receivers.
Do you need to do a rant now? Do you need to do an anti-Bears rant next?
Might have to. We'll get to that and more coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Tune in for our SEC Media Day coverage throughout the day. Brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses, and hose fittings, seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection, cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. This week, get an LG 70-inch 4K TV for $599 or a Whirlpool 4-piece kitchen package for $27.99. Save up to 50% in every department at Electronic Express. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on an HP laptop for just $349 or a Samsung washer and dryer for $549 each. Shop in-store or online with free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
102.5 The Game is teaming up with Newton Motor Group and Souls for Souls to provide shoes for children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. Please help however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee. thegamenashville.com/shoes.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school, send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
Never miss a moment of the show. Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Nick Keyser on this Monday morning. A little bit over a week away now, Joe Rexrode, from Titans training camp. So football season is right around the corner. I ask you the same question that I just asked Corey Curtis. We get through the first day of on-field activities at Titans training camp, and Traylon Burks is either not a participant or is a limited participant. What's going through the mind of Joe Rexrode at that point?
Wow, that they're in big trouble. And not that I expect Traylon Burks, even if he has a full camp, to be Rookie of the Year, but they need him to give them 600-700 yards this year. They need him to be an integral part of the offense. The depth chart dictates that he has to be, and that's not even to mention just the losing A.J. Brown, the move they made to get him. I mean, long-term, he's got to be more than that. Long-term, he's got to be a standout player for the Titans. But this year, given the way the roster is constructed, I just don't see how this offense gives you enough if you don't have him involved at a pretty significant level. And I don't see how that happens if we're still talking about Traylon Burks unable to get on the practice field. So, yeah, day one is big. And, then, of course, if he goes the first week and misses the second week, then that's a problem too. But day one, if it's still an issue, then it's like, what's it going to take for him to get out there? Because, look, if he's not out there on day one, I think we can probably shoo away the idea that this is purely, not being conditioned. Right?
You would think so.
Again, I think it's a combination of things in the spring. And the spring is just, it's not as important, although it is important for a rookie to get reps in the spring. But it's not training camp. I guess if it is just conditioning, then that's really a red flag. If after all this
after all this time it's still conditioning, that is not good.
Yeah, I mean, if after all this stuff he comes back and he can't hack it, well, then you got real problems. But I think it's pretty obvious that the asthma had some role in that, and if he were to miss time, that would probably be the primary reason. But then it's like, okay, so is it like he can start practicing in October? Like,
you're gonna eventually have to play football through it.
Yeah, and again, the guy's been a productive college player in a maybe a place maybe with not quite the pollen situation we have here, but still,
we need to go investigate this.
Yeah, I mean, I actually.
What is the pollen count in Fayetteville, Arkansas? Do we know?
Maybe it's like it's just one of those areas that's just totally like a pollen-free zone.
Utopia.
And I just
out there.
didn't realize it. But no, he's got to be going from the start, and then even then it's serious cram session for a month before the season.
Ron on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I still don't think even that would put J-Rob on the hot seat. Traylon Burks not being ready for camp. Well, yeah, J-Rob's not on the hot seat.
Right. Look,
both Mike Vrabel and John Robinson just got contract extensions.
Yeah, those guys aren't close to the hot seat, and they shouldn't be close to the hot seat. When your missed picks and when bad decisions start costing your bottom line,
right,
then we'll start talking about it. We're talking about right now the GM of the number one seed in the AFC, which lost in the first round, but still, it's like the overall numbers are highly successful.
By the way, Corey Curtis brought up A.J. Brown's over-under. I'm looking on FanDuel right now. It's at 1,500. 1,500 is the over-under. Robert Woods, I believe, is at 750.5. Traylon Burks is not listed where I can find him at the moment, but I'll keep looking.
I mean, that's the thing is with A.J.'s number, as we've talked about often, especially the Titans fans who want to buy into this being a good thing, he hasn't hit 1,100 yards, and a lot of that has to do with missing games, which is part of this formula, I would imagine, right? You assume he's going to miss 3-4 games, then it's going to be hard for him to. So that's probably about right. That's not a shocking number to me.
Wes in Clarksville on the text line says, do y'all think Malik Willis will be the backup quarterback this year, or will he be third behind Logan Woodside?
That's one of the big questions.
If I had to guess today, I think he'll be third. But, Joe, if he's the backup, to me that means he had a really good training camp and a really good preseason. And if you feel good enough about him to dress him in a game and for him to be available for you to be the backup quarterback, to me, that's probably best-case scenario for Malik Willis throughout training camp.
Yeah, my pick right now would be that he's third. I also am leaning toward I could see them dressing 3.
Okay.
Now you're losing somebody obviously there, and those spots are at a premium. But
now would that be just because you think they might have some special packages for him, or
yeah? I mean that's that, and maybe is there some value if you feel good enough about him, potentially getting in there next year, having a chance to be your starter next year. Is there value in having him dressed and on the sideline and kind of in the action on every Sunday? Some would say, it's still not worth that. But I think that and the idea of weaving him in here and there and using his skill set would make that possible. I also do think it's possible he could beat out Logan Woodside for the backup. I agree with you. That would really speak well of what he's doing. But right now, Logan Woodside, though he hasn't done anything in actual NFL games, the staff loves him. There's no doubt about it. And I think they feel like if they had to hand over the keys for a week or two to him, he could play game manager well enough for them to get by. So right now, he's still my favorite to be the 2.
Well, we've been trying to hand away Logan Woodside's backup job for the last 2 years, and he's told us to pound sand every time. Comes back and he's backup quarterback.
Get out of here, Trevor.
See you, buddy. Yeah. Who was it? Matt Barkley?
Barkley, see ya.
Matt Barkley. There was Deshaun Kaiser in there last year, too.
And in all 3 cases, when they were initially brought in, it was absolute, thanks for playing, Logan.
Oh, yeah.
Again, none of these are world beaters, but Malik Willis is a third-round rookie,
right?
With a long way to go, a lot of development ahead. If you lose Tannehill in week 5,
you're in trouble.
You feel like you're going to put Willis out there and be okay? I mean, I think Woodside, who's been here for years, is the safer option.
615-737-1025. We'll continue your thoughts on the Titans. Got more of those to get to coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
Our diamonds are direct from the source, direct from the cutters. There's no middlemen, there's no markup.
Meet Ben Wilkes, 10-year jewelry professional at Genesis Diamonds.
We've got everything from half a carat all the way up to 15 carats and everything in between. So I never have to go looking for something.
And if you're in search of that one-of-a-kind designer ring.
Lots of times they come in and she's got a very specific picture, something that she wants, and she's shocked and amazed when I go right to a case and pull exactly what she's been looking at out.
And beyond the best price and selection, every customer at Genesis gets one-on-one personal attention with no hidden agenda.
Every customer that I've ever worked with has my personal cell phone number. It doesn't come from an automated system. It is person-to-person interaction. We're not on commission, so what that means is regardless of what you buy or don't buy, I'm paid the same.
Genesis Diamonds.
Here you get more, you get bigger, better, you get prettier. The quality, the selection, transparency, customer service, it can't be touched. It's unmatched.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Join MTSU head football coach Rick Stockstill and the Blue Raiders as they hit the street for the Blue Raider Blitz Caravan across the mid-state. Each stop will feature free food, giveaways, and a chance to hear from Coach Stockstill on the upcoming Middle Tennessee football season. To see when the caravan is in your town, head to mtalumni.com/blitz to register to attend. That's mtalumni.com/blitz.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop into Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, a dab bar at the Hendersonville location, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
Did you book the Townsend's 10th anniversary ticket?
Alona's travel agency is overbooked and experiencing delays. She needs to land a new project manager to clear her business's runways.
Yes, Mrs. O'Hara, we checked. Pygmy goats do not count as emotional support animals.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by interviewing on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Join 102.5, 106.3 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee as we team up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids, but we can't do it without your help. So please consider helping however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee experiencing homelessness. Let's do some good this summer, and thank you for your help. Once again, that's thegamenashville.com/shoes. Newton Motor Group, a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville start at Newton. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll be joined by Darren McFarland coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll get into all things Nashville Predators with him at the top of the hour. Right now, taking your thoughts on the Titans on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Got a texture that says, if a third-string quarterback plays in a game, no other quarterback can play in the game. So Malik would have to be the second quarterback to play if they have a package for him. I can't remember if that's true or not. I have to go back and look. But I have heard that before.
I have not heard that before. I guess it really doesn't come up.
Yeah, it's not really a common thing.
Although it used to be, like, I feel like teams typically often used to dress 3 quarterbacks. But
we'll double check on that.
Yeah, I'll double check on that. If that's true, then then it doesn't make sense to do it. I mean, I do think that
unless that package is really good.
Well, I was gonna say, Vrabel likes his. Imagine, although Brett Kern is an incredible athlete, imagine some of those plays with Malik Willis. Can Malik Willis punt?
Could it be better than the double reverse to Brett Kern?
I don't know.
That's hard to top. Matt from Camden on the text line says, what if Tannehill goes down in week 5 and is done for the season? Do you ride with Willis and see what happens, or try to game manage with Woodside because the season is probably over at that point? This is coming from Matt from Camden the text line.
That's a great question, and I agree. I mean, look, if it's like a long-term thing and clearly you're toast and maybe you're not even doing great at that point, then absolutely you go to Willis. It's you play for the future. I mean, it just comes down to how long are we talking? I mean, let's say now we're making up various awful injuries for Ryan Tannehill.
By the way, we really hope that Ryan Tannehill stays healthy the whole year. Just to clarify.
Yeah, we're not rooting for injury for him or anyone. But if it's like, let's say it's like really early and they're 1-1. See, I think at that point, it's like you might still be going with Woodside and say, hey, got Derrick Henry, got a tight end you can throw to, got a potential elite defense. If you're the Titans, you're saying, can we win a bunch of 17-13 games and not turn it over and just be safe? I think you probably start there. But if it comes down, if it's obvious that you're just not going to be competitive at some point, then sure, go to Malik Willis.
Well, the thing is, they're in a different spot than they were 2 years ago at the backup quarterback position. And what I mean by that is, well, I shouldn't say that. I think they are. 2 years ago in 2020, if Ryan Tannehill goes down, think about that team and think about that offense and how many points they had to score to win games. Like, the defense, I would think, is supposed to be the strength of your team this year. So it's a different stamp. Like, the team has changed over the course of the last couple of years where, Tannehill goes down for 5 or 6 weeks. You're not asking – you wouldn't be asking Logan Woodside to do a lot anyway, but maybe he doesn't have to do as much with Derrick Henry back and the defense, we think, being a very strong point of this football team. We talked about this a couple years ago. If Tannehill went down in 2020, they were totally screwed because you had to score 35 points a game to win that year. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year with this Titans defense.
I don't either, of course. A year ago, the offense was going to be the best offense ever, and the defense was a huge problem, and look at what happened. By the way, the third quarterback rule, real quick, apparently that is not in effect.
So they can have a package.
Per my, it was done away with in 2020. But, I mean, look, credit for you to bring it up because, honestly, I did not know about that. So,
but the package possibility lives on, you're saying?
I believe so. And so we'll see. Now, I still think I made that guess. That's kind of a called shot.
Sure.
It's easy to look at it and say, man, you really need another whatever receiver outside. I mean, although Vrabel likes going thin on the outside linebacker, just throwing caution to the wind. Certainly no guarantee that they would do it, but it seems like maybe some weeks it would be worth doing it.
Dennis on the text line says, I think people have built Willis up to be something, and there's a good chance that he might not be. Let's just see him in the preseason. This is coming from Dennis on the text line.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, even so, so last night did like a Titans panel on Channel 5 with a cast of characters, including thanks John Glennon for dressing my wound, by the way, and thanks for Kaharski for tweeting
for capturing that moment. Yes, it was good stuff. Thank you, PK.
Yeah, we're talking about Malik Willis, and even in that, it's almost like there's this. I've heard this. I mean, I think I've heard Kaharski say it. I think I've heard Glennon say it too. Almost like this kind of assumption that Malik Willis is the starter in 2023. It's like there's so many things that need to happen, and I'm still like basically the discussion was the question that Lehman asked was like what does Tannehill need to do to be the starter, and I think Jonathan Hutton said win a playoff game. Well, certainly that would do it, right? But honestly, let's say Tannehill's just pretty good this year, and they don't have any playoff success, and it's the same questions, and you're not happy at that position, but Malik Willis being your starter next year, still like a lot of stuff has to happen. And he has a big arm, and we saw that, and he's athletic, and he's very, I think he's got a great personality, but there's a long way to go before the Titans, I think, are just going to be like, yep, you're the guy in 2023. I mean, even and I know a lot of fans don't want to hear this, but like a Tannehill, like the average performance of Tannehill since he's been the quarterback here could absolutely still be a better choice than Malik Willis as your starting quarterback in 2023. Like, there's a lot to find out about him.
Well, to me, it's as much as it is what Tannehill does or doesn't do to determine what that's going to look like in 2023. I mean, it's also what can you really learn about Malik Willis this year if you're the Titans that makes you confident that he is a starting quarterback in 2023. Like, he's probably not going to play that much. So, obviously, you're paying close attention to the preseason. You're working with him every day in practice. They've got a way better eye for that stuff than we do. So,
and they see it every day.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. But even if things go really well for him this year, he's not going to be on the field that much. And part of your strategy, if you do make him the quarterback in 2023, is, man, I sure hope this works out well, because you're not going to really know until he gets on the field. So, as much as it has to do with Tannehill and what he does or doesn't do, it's also like how quickly does Willis come along, and how do you evaluate that while you're coaching him up in practice this year and he's not getting a whole lot of reps? It's a tough thing to do.
Right. So if he's great in the preseason, that's big.
Yeah.
And if you see weekly progress, That's big, and at some point that may all be enough. There's still going to be a certain level of who knows if he can do it in an actual NFL game and, win games for you. That's just a long – but I agree with Dennis's point. I think some people are just planning for the Malik Willis era to start next year.
Right. Well, there's a reason he slid to the third round.
Yes. And, again, I don't hold a class of a position against an individual player because there could be 2 all-time great quarterbacks out of this quarterback class that was so bad. But relative to most years, it wasn't good. And you gotta keep in mind where he went. It could end up being incredible value. It could end up kind of showing, the place where he went in the draft may end up kind of being a self-fulfilling prophecy too.
615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll get back into some SEC talk coming up next. Also, a nice reunion on the mound yesterday in the MLB draft and what that could mean for the Texas Rangers moving forward. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
And here we go! Every Tuesday at 11.
The Music City Grand Prix is green!
The DDC will get you set for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix by talking to some of IndyCar's best drivers.
Joseph Newgarden. It's a great event. Everyone has a great time at it. Second year I think will be better than the first.
Weekly driver interviews are presented by Social Furniture, where we sell comfort. Shop local, shop social at 5412 Charlotte Avenue, and by the Nashville Sheriff on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly cloudy skies today with scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. Afternoon high only 86 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hiller's Home of the Free is back with more free giveaways than ever. This month, get a free programmable thermostat with select new HVAC systems. Get a free home surge protector with a whole home generator. Or enjoy a free water sensor leak detector with any tankless water heater. Better yet, we'll include interest-free financing and a free Happy Hiller Club membership with these purchases. Celebrate the Home of the Free with us at happyhiller.com.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Nerds. Here at NerdWallet, we often see people struggle with financial decisions, like with Helen. Hey, Helen.
Hello.
Helen, you're all over the place.
I'm trying to pick a rewards credit card, and I've ended up, everywhere.
With NerdWallet, you don't have to feel all over the place. NerdWallet has side-by-side comparisons of top credit cards. So whether you need a card for groceries or travel, the smartest card for you is right there.
Wow. Now I'm in one place with the right travel rewards card. Nice.
Nice indeed. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keys are here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody's doing well. Interesting day in the MLB draft yesterday. Some Tennessee players going. Drew Gilbert goes in the first round. Jordan Beck in the second round. Blade Tidwell in the second round as well. Tony Vitello was a part of the coverage yesterday on the MLB Network and was very good at that, as you might expect. An interesting day there. But kind of the wrench thrown in the draft was, where would Kumar Rocker go after being drafted last year by the Mets? I believe at number 10 overall. And then, of course, the whole situation that played out after that with Scott Boras and his agent and apparently some bad medicals that the Mets found. And Kumar Rocker ultimately did not end up signing with the New York Mets and was once again draft eligible this year. Well, Rocker goes number 3 overall last night to the Texas Rangers, who, of course, last year selected Jack Leiter in the draft as well. So Rocker and Leiter reunited in the same organization. And it's funny, like Rocker, given everything that he's been through the last year, and it ended up working out for him because he's going to make about $460,000 more signing with the Rangers than he would have last year with the Mets at number 3 overall rather than number 10 overall. What did you make of the way that played out yesterday and Rocker and Leiter back together in the same organization?
I mean, it's pretty awesome. Look, the only thing that would have been better is if he would have gone really high to an NL East team, because I really wanted him to just torment the Mets for many, many years. And look, to be fair, he did have like a surgery in the offseason. There was something with the medical, but, man, they blew this.
They did.
And if he's going to be fine and going to be what I thought from early in his freshman year, as he projects forward and moves into his pro career, he's going to be a heavy innings, big-time starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, and that would be a blast to see. I could see at some point, this is best-case scenario, obviously, but like Leiter, Rocker being 1-2 in that rotation like 4 years from now, 3-4 years from now. That would be pretty amazing. So I was a bit stunned. I think a lot of people thought Rocker, could sneak into the 20s somewhere, get into the first round, but going number 3 overall,
I was blown away.
Oh, that was really cool, and good for him after this ordeal. So for Vanderbilt fans, that was probably exciting. What wasn't exciting for Vanderbilt fans is that a couple of their top incoming recruits got drafted way higher than people thought.
Yeah.
Sal Stewart, who they really needed in their lineup, and I don't know for sure if he's signing. He went 32nd overall to the Reds? But
God bless him.
Yeah. Let me make sure that I have the Reds right. But Schultz, the pitcher, Noah Schultz, went 26 to the White Sox and did say to reporters that he's passed up. He's a 6'9" lefty. He's supposed to be like the next Randy Johnson. And everybody thought he was going to be around next year. Now he's out. The White Sox took him. So then along with a bunch of other guys, including like Andrew Jones' kid was a Vanderbilt commit. No surprise, like he's out of there. He went
He
early.
was never going.
He went
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have some – I mean, when you're Vanderbilt and when you're Tennessee moving forward, you're going to have some situations like that. But Schultz and Stewart are two guys who they thought they'd get. And with the Vols, by the way, I think I argued with just about every Vols writer. I know Wes and Mike for sure. They were so sure that Jordan Beck was going to go before Drew Gilbert. I was like, no, Drew Gilbert is going to be the top pick, and he was the top pick of that class. And Beck, a little bit of a surprise he didn't go in the first round. And by the way, Spencer Jones from Vanderbilt did go in the first round.
To the Yankees.
Yep. So now, the judge comparisons can just really go out of hand now with him. But good for him. It's awesome.
You imagine the strike zone people are going to have to deal with there in New York one day, assuming Aaron Judge signs back there at some point. Got his 6'7" self out there, and then Spencer Jones' 6'7" self. Wide strike zone out there.
That's a lot of That's the thing is, the knock on Jones as well. That big strike zone, too much swing and miss and all that stuff. But man, incredible power and incredible athleticism. He could possibly be a center fielder. We'll see. But that's a guy who Vanderbilt loses him, and if they didn't have him this year, I don't know what their lineup would have looked like.
Well, Kamar Rocker has been pitching lately in the Tri-City Valley, for the Tri-City Valley Cats of the Frontier League, which is apparently Michelle's hometown. So she's very excited about that. But I think at this point he's got a 1.35 ERA and an 8.0 strikeout to walk ratio in 5 starts. It's pretty darn good.
It's not bad.
Has been clocked at 99 miles an hour on the fastball.
So that's the whole thing. I mean, look, there's no doubt. Like last season, I mean, his velocity went down, and he was more working in the 93 to 95 range of that fastball. After, going back to his freshman year, he was touching 98 along with the vicious slider. So for him to get the velo back up like that, yeah, man. He's got a chance to, I think, be special.
This could be something that you look back 5, 6, 7 years from now, and if you're the Mets, you think to yourself, oof, man, we really screwed that one up, didn't we?
Yeah, I wonder what Willie and TD are thinking today. Like, I know Willie obviously as a Vandy boy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's happy to see this all unfold, but man, I know. He could have been something special for the Mets. But hopefully it works out for him.
Hopefully it does. SEC Media Days beginning today down in Atlanta, Georgia. Caroline Fenton and Michelle Knezovic are down there for SEC Media Days. By the way, our SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses, and hose fittings, seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it. Once again, that's Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Brian Kelly kicking things off today for LSU at SEC Media Days. So a lot of Twitter jokes have already begun as to whether or not he's going to speak in a Southern accent when he ends up on stage today. Highly anticipated speech coming from Brian Kelly later today. But I am curious, what sort of a team do you think they could be this year? Because that's also a team on Tennessee's schedule where you start to look at the Vols' schedule. You know, a game like that at LSU, if you could get that win, that could go a pretty long way in determining the season that you have. You know, LSU is always going to have talent. Brian Kelly is obviously an excellent coach, so that's not going to be a very easy game for Tennessee to win, but they're a team that kind of like Florida in the other division, maybe a little bit less so. I'd probably say LSU's even more like this, where I don't quite know what to think about LSU because there's always like a certain baseline of talent that they have, and I think the wheels just fell off with Ed Orgeron. Can Brian Kelly come in and win immediately in LSU? I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, it's I think this could end up being one of those situations where you see the impact of coaching because although Brian Kelly deserves all the ripping that we can give him, he should come out today and he should come right out and just say, "How y'all doing?"
He really just needs to embrace it. Just keep going,
exactly.
buddy.
Just go ahead and and then Adam Sparks needs the first question, and then we can have a good time and then move on. But look, man, the guy can coach, and Coach O, we all love Coach O, but I think there's a significant upgrade in coaching, and there's still a ton of talent on this roster.
Coach O coached potentially the best college football team of all time. Potentially.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Now, granted, the big key there is, and this shows you what can happen in college football, and we've seen it with many programs. If you have great coordinators, then you can be a figurehead and everybody, and just you're fine. And then if you have also the most ridiculous team assembled, which is there on the short list, then you're fine. But, Brian Kelly is a really good coach, and I'm very intrigued by what he can do in year one. For all of his weird TikTok dancing with recruits that commit elsewhere and all that stuff, the guy can coach football. So who's the quarterback? Miles Brennan. Jaden Daniels is a really intriguing player from Arizona State. They got options, and they've got talent at receiver. I mean, that's one of those. Sometimes you see that first year coach bump too with some veterans on a team, who have stuck it out, and you get some of their best football. And if that happens, they could be really good. That's a huge game, Tennessee LSU this year, and I think one of those swing games, if the Vols are going to have this special season that as the weeks build here, more and more people are going to convince that they're going to have.
Oh, yeah. I'm just kind of sifting through predictions right now that are going to continue to come out as the week goes along. It's pretty wild, like how all over the map it is, besides Alabama and Georgia. Like Alabama and I've yet to find somebody that doesn't have Alabama at 1 in the West and Georgia at number 1 in the East, but like I'm looking at a Yahoo one right now that came out this morning. It's got Tennessee at 4th, Florida at 3rd, South Carolina at 2nd, and Kentucky at 5th.
Whoa.
Like, hey, man, getting a little crazy over there. That same one's got LSU at 5, Ole Miss at 2, and Arkansas. Arkansas is a nice under-the-radar team this year, by the way.
Yeah, well,
KJ Jefferson.
But I think a lot of people are going to pick them pretty high in the West. So is there a name on that pick?
It is Adam Dotson.
Kentucky 5th. Put Adam Dotson on Michelle's list there. Adam Dotson.
Kentucky 5th.
Yeah, that's
South Carolina 2nd. I mean, I did say earlier in the show that if Rattler comes in and plays great, then that could be a big difference maker for them.
Yeah.
I don't know about 2nd. Maybe.
Look, Rattler's interesting. He seems to have all kinds of issues last year, and this happens sometimes. You have these massively really overrated kids, and then you think about, you still kind of keep that in mind as they go through their career. Maybe he's going to be rejuvenated. I do like Shane Beamer. He's recruited well. He's been aggressive, and I like what he's done. But second? No. I don't think South Carolina's going to be second in the East this year.
Well, then you've got, SI.com has Tennessee second, Kentucky third, South Carolina fourth. It's really all over the map with kind of the middle of the SEC East and the middle to top half of the West, too.
So it almost makes it fun. Like, we still know we totally know who's going to play in the SEC title game, but
I think so.
There's some fun below that, at least.
Do we think that the Jimbo Nick Saban thing comes up this week? And if so, do we think Jimbo and or Nick Saban addresses it again? Or do they move along?
I think it'll come up. Someone will feel compelled to ask about it, which is fine. I don't think it has to anymore, but this is the first, a very small crew goes to the spring meetings, and this is the big conglomerate of SEC media. So someone will probably ask it, and it'll be quickly brushed aside.
Shane from Ashland City, going back to the LSU quarterback conversation, says, don't worry, Miles Brennan will slip and fall on a fishing trip a week before ball starts. It's like we traded 1 year of Burrow being absolutely phenomenal for 10 years of bad luck is what it's starting to feel like. It's coming from Shane from Ashland City.
Did you get your natty, Shane?
Yeah.
Then stop complaining.
I don't think you're going to get too much sympathy.
Go watch. Yeah, watch.
Probably the greatest quarterbacking season of all time at the college level.
The SEC Network still replays that all the time, man. You can go enjoy it. Sometimes you gotta pay for that. Look, you should be excited. To me, if you're an LSU fan, about what Brian Kelly's coaching can mean. Since he sort of rebooted his career at Notre Dame when things are going down. I think he's going to be really intriguing there. And of course, he's got Fickle's OC, right? I think with him this year, Mike Denbrock there. So I think you should be excited about the prospect long term. That's the big question, though. What does quarterback look like this year?
Is there a coach in danger of being fired this year in the SEC outside of Brian Harsin in your mind? Brian Harsin to me is clearly number one that could get canned this year at some point. Billy Napier's in his first year with Florida. The Drinkwitz one is interesting because it's not really translated on the field yet, although he has recruited relatively well.
Really going well.
So I don't know how much danger he would be in. Obviously, Clark Lee's not going to get fired. Josh Heupel's not going to get fired. You can go through the other side. Kiffin's not going to get fired. Maybe Leach. I don't know.
Gosh, that's a good point. If there's only one SEC coach who's kind of like a hot seat candidate, that is a rarity. But I think you may be right.
Jimbo's not going anywhere. I think everybody's pretty much kind of set in there, I think. Beamer in his second year at South Carolina, he's not getting fired.
Of course not.
I think it's Harsin.
Yeah, Harsin. It's Harsin and then a huge drop-off. Yeah, like Leach could do something so stupid he has to get fired, but that's wild. I'd love to know the last time that happened. That's a great point. When's the last time the SEC had one hot seat coach and everybody else is really it's hard to imagine anyone else getting fired.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember a time quite like that.
Although Florida fans were ready to fire Napier
that is
2
true.
weeks before we started getting some commitments.
He might get fired before he plays or coaches. Here's at 5-1063, the game.
You love the game.
Duchesne scores! Titans touchdown!
We live the game.
Because if he did come back, how long would he play?
Really good after the catch. He can get open.
We are
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that.
It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters. So make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
When Smashville wants to rock. We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's. 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 Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3. Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Final hour, Robbie and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And as we do every Monday morning at 9 o'clock, we welcome in our good friend Darren McFarland, host of the DDC, to the program. Darren, what's going on? How we doing?
Good Monday morning, gents. How we doing?
We're great. Appreciate you making time to be with us this morning. So, Darren, let's start on the backup goaltender front. What do you make of this with the Predators signing Kevin Lankinen to a 1 year, $1.5 million contract? You have Connor Ingram in the fold. You have Devin Cooley, who they re-upped and qualified last week. And there's a Skarov down in Milwaukee as well, which I would assume is going to be part of their plans in Milwaukee this year. So what did you make of the Kevin Lankinen signing and what that means for that room moving forward?
Do you guys remember the game Cubert?
I do. Oh, yeah.
I kind of feel like Cubert, you know? There's just a lot of stuff above my head, a lot of question marks and weird symbols, and maybe even my head's tilting a little bit because I'm very confused. It doesn't make any sense to me. And what it tells me is, if I'm following the popcorn trail and I'm just putting out my opinion and what it feels like to me, is there's something we don't know about Connor Ingram. And it's what we don't know is, have they reevaluated and, you know, they came back just like Ferentz and said, you know what, maybe we're not as high on him as we thought we were. Maybe that could be the case, because I had always been told they're very high on Ferentz. He's young, still got more to learn, but down the road he's a guy that they feel really good about down the road. Well, as we know, this offseason, that's no longer how they feel about David Farron. So is that how they feel now about Connor Ingram? Not to bring it up, but it is a part of his history as something happened that we don't know about because he has obviously had off-the-ice problems. It's well documented. I don't know that, but it does seem like something has gone on where we all thought Connor Ingram, it was now his time because he's been in their system for a while. They're fully aware of what he brings to the table. They like Connor Ingram, but something's changed. You don't sign Kevin Lankinen for $1.5 million. That's more than they signed Riddick, right, last year.
Well, yeah, and it's twice as much as Connor Ingram was going to make. So you now doubled your investment there.
To be your third, I don't believe that to be the case. So I don't know what it is. I think it's a really good question. I talked about it a lot on Friday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday, whenever Andy Strickland tweeted that out, I was like, oh, boy, here we go. Andy Strickland has tweeted. And this time he was right. He was right. So I hate to always bang on Andy Strickland, but we all remember the Predators are shopping Philip Forsberg. We'll never forget that tweet. But in this case, that was the first place I saw the Predators are interested in Kevin Lankinen. And I was like, huh? And, at the time, when you first read that, it's like, oh, boy, Andy's doing Andy things. Andy tweets. Hashtag Andy tweets. Because that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Well, he was right. They were interested in Kevin Lankinen. So, I just feel like something's changed behind the scenes. And Lankinen is the backup. And if he's the backup, then I guess they're moving on from Connor Ingram. It doesn't make any sense to keep him around. There's no room for Connor Ingram. What more do they need to see in Connor Ingram in Milwaukee, right? So something's changed. I don't know what's changed, but it looks like all signs are pointing towards Lankinen, who played for a really crappy Blackhawks team last year and was really crappy himself. And I don't know how much of it was his fault or the team's fault in front of him, but his numbers were awful last year. And I get it, he's 27 years old, but it just kind of feels like to me, Robby, he's their new backup.
Yeah, I would agree. And so he's a more expensive, potentially not as good backup for UC Saros next year. Like you said, it has to be, as you laid out there, that they're moving on from Ingram. Meanwhile, still nothing done at forward, significant at forward. We've talked a lot today, Darren, about the trade scenario, which I think has to be a strong consideration. What do you think about we talked a lot about one in particular, JT Miller, and maybe a package going toward Vancouver, including a Dante Fabro. What would you think of something like that, and do you think that is feasible?
It seems like, from everything I keep hearing and reading, is that they're trying to figure out a way to keep Miller for the time being. I mean, I don't know. It just feels like the JT Miller thing to me seems to have evaporated. It just seems to have gone away. I think it was, maybe, possibly in play back at the middle of last week. But sitting here today, I don't feel like that's really in play anymore. I kind of feel like Vancouver is going to keep him for now, for the time being. I do think probably the asking price was a little rich for what the Predators – look, this free agency period, I know Chase he endorses Screwball, and we've all got our favorite drink. I mean, I can certainly, I've talked about Blue Note on this station. I mean, I don't know if cases and cases of every alcohol we can think of has been shipped to every NHL market, because they were silly. These contracts were silly in the free agency. I was dumbfounded at the deals that were passed out in NHL free agency. So clearly the market is high. Kind of like the housing market in Nashville, the market is high in the NHL because there just was some crazy contracts. And I feel like if there were guys to fill that void that you're talking about, Joe, I think David got sticker shock, and he was like, nope, and walked away. So right now, I'm not prepared to say this is what they have moving forward. And look, it's still a good offseason. They got Philip Forsberg back in the mix. They signed him to an 8-year deal. Ryan McDonough is a great ad. By the way, that's a great ad, okay? And look what they did to get him, what they got rid of, okay? So I still think it's a good offseason. Clearly they could use an upgrade on the second line. I just don't know right now what that plan is because I just think – I said it all last week. I don't think anything's going to happen. And right now I still feel the same. Like I don't feel like anything is imminent anytime soon. So I don't know what the plan is right now. Maybe they're just going to sit and wait for the price to come down. Maybe that's the best way to do it, right? If you get sticker shock, stay away. Wait for them to call you. Maybe somebody will call Dave and say, all right, okay, so let's talk again. Let's start over. And maybe that conversation happens. But I think the JT Miller thing is dead, and I'm not sure right now what they're looking at for another splash move for a top 6.
Darren McFarland on with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Darren, I guess going along with that from Fabro's point of view, with McDonough coming in, somebody's going to be out of the top 4, whether it's Carrier or Fabro. My guess is today it would be Fabro out of the top 4, and he's on the third pair. I don't see a scenario, not this upcoming season, but in 23-24, where both Carrier and Fabro are on the roster with McDonough now in. It doesn't make any sense for me for that to be the case. Number one, do you agree with that? And number two, if you do, could that influence the way that maybe David Poile does view Fabro this year in a potential trade?
Well, I do agree. It does feel that way today, but the problem is we're talking about defensemen, and right now, as we just played the Prospects Showcase game on Friday at Fordyce Center in Bellevue, right now, who are their biggest prospects?
There's not a lot.
What positions do they play?
Forward and goalie.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Bingo. Not defensemen, right? So we're not sitting here talking about the pipeline of defensemen, that guy that could be ready following year to get his chance. It's really forwards and, like you said, the goalie, Askarov, which, by the way, looked really good.
He did.
In that game. But so, yeah, it feels like that's the case. But, then I guess you're going out and getting what to replace Dante Fabro. And if you're talking about a third D pairing, isn't Dante right now, no matter how you feel about Dante Fabro, don't you feel pretty good as a third D pair? I mean, think about the third D pair. I know we love to talk about this a lot, but they're really like, and I don't want this to diminish what they are. Like, I don't want it to just come off ugly, but they're like your fourth and fifth starters, right? You just don't want them to hurt you. They're not supposed to go out and win the Cy Young. They're not supposed to go out and win a bunch of awards. You just don't want to be going, and Robby, I know you enough where you've sometimes when there's been a third D pair jump over the boards, you're like, oh, God.
It's going to end very poorly.
Whew. Get my towel. You're like Jerry Tarkanian. You're like, you got a towel. You're biting it. I mean, you're going, oh, God. How many goals is this going to be? Like, you just don't want to be in that mode, right? Were you going to feel that way with Dante Fabro, a third D pairing? I mean, let's just say, for sake of this discussion, it's Lauzon. And we don't know enough really about Lauzon yet. But if it was Lauzon and Fabro or Borowiecki and Fabro, would you be cringing?
No, I'd feel good about it. But moving forward, like, what are you paying Dante Fabro to be a third pair D guy for you?
Yeah,
I guess would be my question.
Yeah, but is he going to be commanding the moon? I mean, if this season looks like the last couple of seasons, I mean, is there really going to be a big bump? Is it really going to be something they can't afford? I don't know. Maybe so. You're right. I mean, typically you're not going to pay a third D pairing guy, $2-3 million a year, right? Or more.
Right.
So,
which is where he is already.
Yeah, right. And so that part does make sense. Like, you're not really, that position doesn't command. It's like, again, going back to your fourth and fifth starter, you're not paying them $12 million a year, $15 million a year to be your fifth starter or fourth starter. So it feels that way. I'm not sure. I guess you go out and you get another Borowiecki, Benning, those types, right, for on the cheap and do it that way, because right now it doesn't look like there's somebody in waiting in Milwaukee.
Well, Fabro could be a steal compared to Goodbranson's contract, Just throwing it out there.
Again, screwball, right? A case of screwball, and then let's just go. I mean, 4 years, 4 per. Good for him. He's a good dude. I don't know what in the world they were thinking in Columbus. And by the way, just how wacky that whole thing with Gaudreau and Goodbranson, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau. I mean, wouldn't we all love to be in the spot where we just leave $15 million on the table?
Just walk away from it.
And by the way, run to the city everybody's trying to get out of.
It's great
All
stuff.
the players are trying to get out of there. He runs to it for $15 million less.
I mean, I can't imagine a more shocking two tweets about one franchise in one day, one bad and one good. You're like,
I know.
Worst thing ever. Oh my God. Yeah. So real fast, Darren, let's say nothing major materializes from here for the Preds. And Fabro is here next year, and he's a third-pairing defenseman, and they've got McDonough now, and they don't have a significant add to the forward group. What do you think that team is next year?
I still think it's better than last year, but everybody's going to compare better to Colorado, and I'm not sure, anything they could do outside of a huge splash move could really significantly get them close where everybody feels good, right? Because Colorado is going to be the heavy favorite again, and as it played out this year, they were just way better than everybody else. But do I think, Joe, they're better than last year's team the way it's constructed today? Yes, but everything else has to play out too. I mean, does Duchesne come back with the same season or close to it? Does Forsberg come back with the same season or close to it? Does Johansson come back to the same season or close to it? Does Tanner Jeannot come back with the same season, close to it? You see what I mean? If all that happens, yeah, they're a better team, but that's also asking – and also other guys to get better, too, like Tolvanen and Trenton. Like there's certain guys, Tomasino, they need to take another step. Some cases, big step forward. It's still a lot to ask, right? That still has to have a lot of things fall into place. But even with that being said, I do feel like the way the season ended, that roster, and this season, that right now, if they were to try it out, it's still better than last year. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's my assessment.
Darren McFarland, host of the DDC, also handles the Predators pre- and post-game duties for the Nashville Predators radio network. Our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Darren, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you next Monday.
If we ever want to cut loose like all the shows and just go Bond, let's go to Columbus. It seems like they're having a good time up there.
Hey, dinner on Eric Goodbranson.
I got some good food spots there, man.
Okay. All right. And
Let's
by the
do
way,
it.
I don't know if you guys know,
Hang out
Jared
with Eric G.
loves Columbus, so it'll be a lot
yeah.
of fun for him. He loves Columbus. But,
We'll
Joe, we'll rely on you to hit the hot spots.
We'll stay away from Urban Meyer's bar.
Good plan.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Darren joins us every Monday morning at 9 o'clock. We'll take your thoughts on the Preds, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. More on that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
For the first time in history, the FedEx St. Jude Championship will kick off the FedEx Cup playoffs this August. Bring the whole family out to TPC Southwind August 10th through 14th to watch the PGA Tour's best try to make it through Memphis. Enjoy a variety of family-friendly activities throughout the course, food from local restaurant favorites, and more. Daily grounds and upgraded tickets are available now at FedExChampionship.com.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. So don't let it sit there. Use it. Willie Donick here for my friends once again at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home. And the payments are crazy low. Think what you could do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal. Don't just let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Big park, bigger fun, bigger smiles. Beach Bend Park with classic amusement rides and the famous Kentucky Rumble roller coaster, daily shows, games, mini golf, and more. Soak up some sun and take the plunge in Splash Lagoon Water Park with wave pool, lazy river, and exhilarating water slides. Big park, bigger fun at Beach Bend, where the parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. For cabana reservations, season passes, and savings on tickets, visit beachbend.com. For the whole family, Beach Bend Park.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So, while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We may now begin our day. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. You can head to the Game Nashville /deals now to get $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. A lot of your thoughts to get to on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Rick in Brentwood texting in says, the Canucks have given up on DiPietro in net. The Preds signed Lankinen, where they were already set in Nashville and Milwaukee. Is there any chance Connor Ingram and someone else could be in play for Miller and a pick from the Vancouver Canucks?
Well, yeah, it'd need to be Ingram and a whole lot else.
Yeah.
But you could throw him in. I mean, like Darren said, it's hard not to read this as one way or the other, whatever it is, moving on from Connor Ingram.
Well, they're not – look, this is not a rocket science statement I'm about to throw out here. They're not going – into next season with 5 goalies. Like, you've got Saros, you've got Lankinen, you've got Ingram, you've got Cooley, and you've got Askarov. Like, they're not putting Askarov in the ECHL and letting him play down there. Like, he's going to play in Milwaukee. So one of these guys is going. Like, it's, you know, Corey Curtis talked earlier about still expecting Ingram to win the job. Like, I don't think so. Like, you signed Lankinen to a 1 year, $1.5 million contract. Like, even if he goes down and he makes it through waivers and he plays in the minors, it's still a cap hit against you. I don't think it's a full $1.5 million, but it's some cap hit against you. And if your plan was to have him be kind of your veteran insurance, like, it just doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do that, why'd you qualify Devin Cooley the week before? Like, to me, this reads as Ingram's out of here. Like, he's, whether that's via trade or they waive him or whatever, like, it kind of seems like for whatever reason he's fallen out of favor. Or maybe we just overreacted to the favor he had with him to begin with. I thought he played reasonably well in the Colorado series given expectations and what was around him, but I thought for sure he'd be the backup heading into this year, just based on nothing more than the money that he makes.
If he didn't have the game 2 he had in that series, this would be a little easier to understand.
Yeah.
But, look, there were some bad performances too. That was the exception and not the norm.
Well, and he was really good all year last year in Milwaukee.
Right. Like, he seemed to be – it seemed clear to me that he was just going to be the backup this year. And I honestly, even after everything we saw last year, I thought that it would still be an upgrade on Riddick. And
yes.
So, Yeah, you're not investing more than $2 million in that by keeping both of them on. That's not happening.
It tells you either they've given up on Ingram, or they see something in Lankinen that I just don't see.
You got to look real hard.
You got to look deep.
Squint.
Now, to your point, and you brought this up earlier, he was decent a couple of years ago with Chicago. Now he got some Calder votes, and he came out of the gate really strong there. They were way better than people expected him to be. Again, that was the kind of the shortened 56-game year, and he played well, kind of faded off toward the end. But 909 save percentage with that god-awful of a defensive team in front of him, he was okay. I mean, last year he was the worst goalie in hockey. He was really bad.
His GSAE was
like
horrific.
-28.
Right. So, and look, these numbers aren't perfect, but that's the point of that stat is to try to eliminate. It's like eliminating tempo in basketball. It's to try to eliminate defensive play and just look at chances that you're fielding as a goalie, and he was awful.
Yeah.
So
it was brutal.
Speaking of that, though, we have one other big take from my vacation that I really wanted to have an opportunity to spout about is, boy, is it going to be fun watching the Blackhawks be absolute cheeks.
Oh, God.
The Blackhawks are doing – they are doing
what some Predators fans wanted the Predators to do, and that is strip the whole thing down, baby. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Even the guys they signed, they signed a couple of good players in free agency.
Which was really interesting.
They signed Domi and they signed Athanasiou, which both of those guys, I think they kind of leave you wanting more, which is why they are where they are in their careers, because you watch them and you're like, man, that's pretty good. And then they just totally disappear for like 15 games.
Not there. Yeah.
So, but they're good players. But it was also interesting. I was like, both of them on 1-year deals. You're making sure you got enough cap room to stay around at the floor, and then
right. You got to get
come
to the
trade
floor,
deadline,
man.
We'll see you Max Domi, we'll see you Athanasiou, and we'll probably see you Patrick Kane somewhere else. They're going to stock up this year at the trade deadline.
What about Patrick Kane? I mean, you can't do it now, but I was like, gosh, what if the Preds made a play for Patrick Kane?
What would you have to give Chicago for them to be willing to send him in the division? Because you can view that two ways.
Well, by the time they come back, he'll be done anyway.
Well, it's like he's got a year left on his deal. So
right.
If you're Chicago, what are you worried about him going in the division this year for? You think you're going to compete?
Who cares? Right. You'll suck even more. Congratulations.
So, I mean, it's
just the cap hit is.
The cap hit would be tough.
No problem. But I thought about that, like, ooh, sneaky little possibility.
What would the reaction from Predators fans be if Patrick Kane was a member of the Predators?
Hey, man, I remember when Chris Chelios hated Chicago Blackhawk, became a Detroit Red Wing. Oh, Chelly's chili, we love you. It would be pure embrace.
I just think back to the All-Star game, that All-Star weekend, and they're like introducing the starting lineups, and they've got, John Scott and obviously all the Predators players. Like everybody out there is getting cheered. And then Patrick Kane comes along. The whole place just boos.
Fantastic.
And he looks around. It's just like, well, I'm on your team. What are you doing? It was awesome.
That's heartwarming. I love that story.
It was pretty amazing. 615-737-1025. Where do the Preds go from here with still a glaring hole at top 6 forward? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hi, I'm Jussi Saros. And this is Smashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Jussi Saros there.
Unreal. You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller is celebrating the home of the free all July along with special deals for customers. This month only, take advantage of free whole home surge protection and interest-free financing for 12 months with the purchase of a new whole home generator. Free programmable thermostat and interest-free financing for up to 48 months on select new HVAC systems, and a free water sensor leak detector and free interest financing for 12 months when you buy a new tankless water heater. All of these purchases come with a free Happy Hiller Club membership. Their work is backed by the Happy OB or Services Free Guarantee. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
This summer, saddle up in Smashville as the Music City hosts the hottest party of the summer. WWE SummerSlam, Nashville. For the first time ever at Nissan Stadium. A little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, a whole lot of kick-ass. WWE SummerSlam. Saturday, July 30th. Live worldwide from Music City's Nissan Stadium. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerHouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at TheGameNashville.com/deals while supplies last.
Thanks, everyone, for baking your way here on this toasty morning. Are you all ready to jam? Excellent. Before we get rolling, let's start by hashing out everything bagel will be discussing. Profit margins are okay, but they could maybe be butter. Sorry, I don't mean to waffle. Next quarter, it's all or muffin. Did you have a question, Sausage Patty?
My name's Patricia.
When you can't take your mind off breakfast, it matters where you stay. Delicious breakfast available at our Hilton family of brands. Hilton, for the stay.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Starting company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Michelle Knezovic, Caroline Fenton down in Atlanta for SEC Media Days. Our SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, equipment supplier in Nashville, including gaskets, hoses, and hose fittings, seals, packing, joints, gauges, fire protection, cups, belting, and more. If you need it, they've got it. Once again, that's Volunteer Hose and Gasket. So, Joe, Philip Forsberg has been re-signed. Ryan McDonough has come in. There's still a pretty gaping hole at top six forward for the Predators. And I do wonder where they go from here. Nazem Kadri has not yet made his decision. I would be very surprised if the Predators are in the running for that. In terms of where he could land, there's Phil Kessel that's still out there. The free agency crop at this point has pretty much dried up. There's not a ton that's left out there. I think Niederreiter is still technically out there. I don't think he's signed anywhere yet, but as Adam Vingan pointed out the other day, apparently the Predators talked to Nino Niederreiter, and both sides were not able to come to an agreement at that point. I think the Predators probably looking for more of a short-term deal, and Niederreiter, I would assume, looking for a longer-term deal. So there still are some options on the free agency table, but not much. The more this goes on, the more I think it probably gets solved via trade. The question is, who is it? Is it JT Miller? Is it a guy like Gustav Nyquist? Is it a guy like Alex Killorn from Tampa Bay? And I say that like, I keep assuming Tampa Bay is going to have to trade someone. I mean, there's $7 million over the cap right now, according to CapFriendly.com. So that tells me that somebody has to go. But I heard some reporting over the weekend that they really want Killorn to finish his contract there with 1 year left. I'm like, well, how is everybody going to finish the contract in Tampa Bay? Does the salary cap apply down there?
Are we doing a salary cap that's fake for the NHL now?
We might.
They've got their ways. Well, what about the Miller thing that Darren said earlier? I mean, obviously, I missed what he's talking about, but he thinks that's moving on. Because Friedman introduced that on their show, right?
Yeah.
By the way, can I just say real quick, mini rant?
Sure.
Elliot Friedman's awesome. That's a great segment. You got to listen to it every week on DDC. He's a great reporter. I just wish he would stop saying "you guys" like it's like they're part of the team.
They're on the third line.
Well, you guys are going to get this guy. You guys are going to – no, they're not in the organization. Anyway, mini rant over. That's my only quibble with Elliot Friedman.
Hey,
but
that's the only one.
He introduced it, right?
Well, it's the JT Miller stuff. Like his availability, quote unquote, has been out there for a while.
Right, but introduced the idea of the Preds being a good fit.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Now, could the Canucks want to keep him around for another year?
How do they do that?
There is some reporting out there that says that they're okay with that. There's no pressure to trade Miller. Now, how much of that is actually no pressure to trade him, and how much of that is I'm just talking that way so I can get some better offers for JT Miller? Like, there's a whole lot of that you have to be conscious of if you're an NHL team out there this time of year. As David Poyle pointed out, there's some posturing that takes place this time of year. But I don't know. I mean, I guess they could potentially try to keep JT Miller for the rest of this year. I mean, I'm looking at their cap situation right now, and they're kind of in the same boat with a lot of these other teams. I mean, they're over the cap. They're $2 million over the cap right now.
And
so
he's a five.
he's
What
a
is he? 5.5? 5.25.
Yeah, a little bit over that. So he's that would be a pretty good candidate to move out in terms of the cap number. I mean, cap friendly. They're not always exactly up to date, but they're roughly pretty good. So right now they've got Tampa, Washington, Florida, Vancouver, Toronto, Vegas, even with moving Max Pacioretty out, and Philadelphia slightly, all over the cap. So by the time puck drop happens, I mean you've got to unload some space. Like Tampa right now is 7.1 over the cap according to Cap Friendly. Like you're going to have to find a way to shed some of that.
So, okay, so Darren's saying he thinks it was dead is just about the most recent reporting that they're considering it, which, like you said, may be posturing.
Yeah, like I don't think they have not come out hard and fast and saying, hey, we're not trading JT Miller.
And even if they haven't, there hasn't been reporting to that effect that
No.
I'm missing here, right?
No.
Okay. Because I mean that one is, we talked earlier in the show about Pacioretty, which seemed to be a golden opportunity, given the situation with the term and everything, and Carolina gets him for nothing. This also seems like one of the better possibilities out there when you compare it to, free agents who are still floating around or other trade possibilities. I like this the best.
Yeah, like it's certainly the best option that I can see right now on the table. Now, I do wonder, we had somebody bring this up Friday in terms of like a long shot. Like if you're the Predators and you're wanting to go a different route and you're trying to find a top six forward, not only right now, but for the foreseeable future, like do you somehow find a way to involve yourself in the Matthew Tkachuk sweepstakes, which is going to be ungodly expensive because his qualifying offer is $9 million. He's worth every bit of that. He'll probably make more than that. And he's a restricted free agent this year. He could be an unrestricted free agent next year. Like with Gaudreau leaving Calgary, like I would be pretty surprised if Tkachuk decides to re-up there. So do you try to involve yourself in that? He, by the way, he's not going to arbitration. So we talked earlier in the show, Yakov Trenin is going to arbitration, which means if it does get to that point and you've got a chance to work on your deal before then, if it gets to that point, there's going to be a deal that gets made. It'll be for either 1 year or 2 years, and that'll be that, and he'll be with the Predators. Probably want to avoid that because it's typically not a very pleasant experience. Tkachuk did not file for arbitration, which leaves him open to an offer sheet as well. So I do wonder if maybe something big like that could be on the table for the Predators. I think you'd rather accomplish that via trade than offer sheet, though. Offer sheet, the price is just a guy like that, you'd have to give up 4 first-round picks, and nobody's going to do that.
And how could you even fit that in the cap?
You couldn't right now. You'd have to move somebody else out.
Yeah.
But that's also, I mean, that's part of the –
I mean, you're not close.
It's part of the flexibility that this time of year gives you. Like Tampa, they're $7 million over the cap right now. You can be $7 million over the cap right now. You just got to find a way to move it out. Like technically the Predators, they still have $9.2 million in cap space. Now some of that's going to go to Trenin. You just use some of that on Lankinen coming in. So there's still – it's not as clear as day, 9.2, but you could try it. I'd be surprised if that's the route they go, though. Although, if I could hand-select a player to add to their team right now, it'd probably be Matthew Tkachuk.
There's no doubt. John Hines,
other than Connor McDavid.
If John Hines is listening,
those guys,
he's like yelling in approval with that too. By the way, yeah. Another part of this, and someone on the text line talking about, Ascaro's going to be number 2 sooner than later, and I agree. I mean, I don't think it'll be too long, but it's not going to be this year. But I have thought about, when you think about a trade that really shakes things up and possibly brings a big return, and where you have an asset that could draw a lot, would a Saros or a Skarov potentially be a trade chip? I mean, does it make sense to say this is our goal? And it could be either one of them. Like, it could be either guy. But this is our long-term goalie. This guy, this is a tremendous asset that could really make a difference for us down the road.
Well, if it's going to be Saros that you go that route with, it's not going to be now because Askarov's not close to being NHL ready at the moment. I mean, he's a great prospect, but
yeah, if it's Saros right now, then you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Like then you're going in a different direction than what they're doing.
Would they do that with the Skarov? I think is the better question now. I tend to think no, not at the moment. They wouldn't. But that is an interesting part of this, is because you look at UC Saros is 27 years old. Like, somebody brought this up the other day. Why couldn't it be like I think it was Adam. It was like, why couldn't it be a Pekka to Saros type mentorship between he and Askarov, and eventually it just takes over? Well, the difference is Pekka was like 34, 35.
Much older than Saros.
And Saros, by the time Askarov comes up, is going to be 29, 30. Like, he's still got, theoretically, a lot of hockey left in him. So what do you do at that point if you're the Predators of, well, you got both of them up. You feel great about Saros. He's still playing well. But Askarov is one of those guys, if you believe the hype, and I would assume they feel a similar way given where they drafted him, he could be the next Andrei Vasilevsky by what's out there. So what do you do then if you're the Predators with Saros potentially still in the prime of his career? And whenever that is, whether that's next year, I kind of think it'll be 2 years from now that Askarov is ready to kind of make that next step. What do you do at that point?
I mean, look, it's great to have goalie depth.
Sure.
Everybody would love to have two starting caliber goalies, but given the situation, how many really high value assets does David Poile have at his disposal? He's got
not many.
A few good prospects, but that could command something. Now, maybe, if Askarov goes and just dominates in Milwaukee this year, then that helps confirm maybe, or it's, it gives a little bit more credence to the hype around him, and maybe you can get even more value. But I just feel like, at some point, one of those two guys probably is moved.
Saros has 3 years left on his deal. So he's got this year, next year, and the following year at $5 million per, which, by the way, with some of the goaltending contracts that have been signed so far this offseason, that's a pretty good contract for the Nashville Predators and UC Saros. But, if let's just operate under the timeline I threw out there. This year and next, Askarov is in Milwaukee. 24-25 comes around. It's the last year of Saros' contract, and Askarov's ready to go. What do you do at that point? Saros will be 29 at that point.
They're not. They're not both. I don't think they're both going to be here by that point.
I guess you'd feel great about your 1-2 combo there,
sure.
But what do you do?
You got so many other deficiencies.
Yeah.
By the way, Nate on the text line says, technically Willie's part of the Preds organization by being play-by-play announcer on Bally Sports. Okay, yeah, I guess, but Willie doesn't say we.
No.
He doesn't say we on the broadcast. He doesn't say we when he's talking about him here, so.
Ethan from Lawrenceburg says, is Prokop our best defensive prospect right now? Yeah, probably he is, which he's a good prospect, but he's not a game-changing prospect or anything like that.
Like they've had in the past.
Ethan from Lawrence, he also says, any worries about Askarov catching with the wrong hand? No, I think he'll be okay.
Nice.
615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. More thoughts on the text line coming up. Take it any way you want to take it. Preds, Titans, SEC Media Days, everything on the table. We'll get to that coming up next. We've hit the halfway point of the baseball season, and you can turn big hits and dingers into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook before the Midsummer Classic. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up using promo code ROB. Place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. The Home Run Derby is coming up. I'm going with Pete Alonso to get it done for the third consecutive time. Juan Soto's in there as well. It's the last hurrah for Albert Pujols. So you take it any way you want to take it, but Alonso is the guy for me. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is not withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly cloudy skies today with scattered showers and thunderstorms possible. Afternoon high only 86 degrees.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, you know the traditional treatments: pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Donick here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Work it back to Mutter. Nurmi drops it off Strinden. Strinden from the slot. Glove save, Askarov. It pops out to the slot. Taken back. Outlet pass up the ice. Here comes Fontaine. He scores! Gunnar Wolf Fontaine gives the blue team the lead.
You talk about prospects. I can't even believe that we overlooked Gunnar Wolf Fontaine.
Well, he's untouchable.
Yeah.
That's why we don't talk about him, because he's untouchable. No one is touching Gunnar Wolf Fontaine.
I can't wait till he makes the team, and I'm just going to assume not an if he makes the team, when he makes the team at some point. #1 selling jersey in all of Nashville sports.
But
can't have Fontaine on the back of it.
Well, I was just going to say.
Gunnar Wolf.
It's got to be Gunnar Wolf, right? Like, you got to go first name. He's got to be like a one-name celebrity.
He's like LeBron.
Madonna.
Yeah, Gunnar Wolf.
Right, Gunnar Wolf. And by the way, Willie did not say we in that segment.
He did not.
If Gunnar Wolf makes the Preds, then every time he scores, I'm going to say we scored.
I will say we. It means
we will say we
Yes.
when Gunnar Wolf scores every time. We are Gunnar Wolf.
By the way, I just want to point this out. Not that it really means anything. Luke Evangelista looked pretty darn good the other day. The prospect scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Yaroslav Askarov, pretty darn good the other day. The prospect scrimmage. Again, I talked about this Friday. I've seen guys that have looked pretty average there go on to have very good careers. And I've seen guys that have looked great there not do anything at the NHL level. So it means pretty much nothing at the end of the day, but encouraging nonetheless if you were out there at Fordyce Center in Bellevue to see Luke Evangelista, who the more I watch play, the more I think they may have something in that guy. And then Yaroslav Askarov looked very good.
How does Evangelista look in terms of body size?
He could probably use a year in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Just in terms of having that pro regiment. He skates well. He's got a great shot. He does a lot. He's got great vision. Does a lot of things really well. Probably does need to get a little bigger. Would be the way I go about it. Like, I would expect him. He might get a call up at some point this year. Like, if they run into some injury problems.
Wow.
But my guess is, like, he's going to be in Milwaukee. It's going to be, I think he'll play a pretty high role in Milwaukee. But I think he needs at least a year of just let him go and do his thing.
I thought maybe it might even be 2.
Yeah, maybe.
But you
He's
think
pretty
potentially 23, 24
Yeah, I
he
think
could be in the lineup. Okay.
I think it could be.
That'd be good for them.
I think they've got something with him. I don't want to, like, blow people away with expectations, but look, there's just some guys you can watch out there at a prospect camp. Like when Kevin Fiala was at the prospect camp, I was like, all right, well, that guy doesn't really need to be out at the prospect camp. He's fine. He's going to be good. Like, Evangelista was just a lot better than most people out there. Afanasiev, same thing. When he was out there, you're like, okay, he's pretty good. He's on a different plane than some of these other forwards are on, which is good.
Igor and Gunnar Wolf.
Igor.
Man, what a combo.
Could be a really special combo there. 615-737-1025. Gator Tim on the text line says, don't worry, Tampa will just put a few guys on IR until the playoffs. Yep, Nikita, we don't need you in the regular season.
Hey, they didn't
be
break
back on
rules.
playoff
I
time.
know what everybody's complaining about.
The rules are
in place.
The rules are the rules.
Do the same thing.
You know,
If you've got a team just completely teeming with talent, then you can do the same thing.
The Blackhawks did the same thing back in 2015.
Right.
You know, Patrick Kane went down with I think it was a collarbone injury, and then all of a sudden, game 1 against the Preds, he was magically ready to play. He's like, hey, man, he's been skating for 3.5 weeks. Looks good out there. Wow.
Crazy. Oh, sorry. I just muted in the middle of a word.
You did. That was your first one all day. I thought for sure you'd be rough today on the mutes.
Well, actually, I think I kind of did earlier, but you just didn't notice. So we'll call it 1.
Okay.
It's been not as rough a day as I thought. My wound kind of is healing, too, so
That's good.
I did not have to dress my wound again during the show. So for anybody who listened to the 6 a.m. segment.
Ugh, good gracious. Good stuff there. So SEC Media Days today, Caroline Fenton and Michelle Knezevic will have you covered all day long down there. LSU is speaking today. I believe the Lane Train is speaking today as well. So Ole Miss, LSU, and then Eli Drinkwitz with Missouri. Tomorrow you'll have Nick Saban from Alabama. I think he's kicking things off early in the morning. Clark Lee speaking tomorrow as well. Tennessee not going until Thursday. So the final day of the week will be Auburn, Tennessee, and Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. So Clark Lee getting the Saban treatment tomorrow in there with Little Nicky, as the DDC calls him.
I do wonder when the SEC puts these things together. I mean, there's some obvious things they're gonna Auburn and Alabama never go on the same day, although that's more important in Birmingham. But you do wonder if they ever think about, like, each day, do we try to separate out the people who might actually have, interesting pressers? I mean, let's face it, most football coaches don't.
No.
So you got Lane today.
He'll say something.
And then you got Leach tomorrow, but of course Saban is just a big draw because it's Saban.
Well, I was really hoping they'd put Saban and Jimbo together. Just didn't happen.
Boy, I tell you what, Wednesday, oh good God.
Wednesday's going to be rough.
Wednesday is, again, we're not talking about coaching quality. Pittman, Napier, Kirby Smart, who is the biggest contrast in coaching quality and presser quality, and Mark Stoops. Oh, God. I mean, I know Michelle will be excited because Stoops is talking, but, get your caffeine in that day.
Will the four of them say anything that day that is of substance at all?
And honestly, Thursday is Harsin, Heupel, and freaking Jimbo. Oh, Jimbo. It's just brutal. I mean, unless he's losing his mind, he's so really, like, the action is the first 2 days.
Will the Harsin questions be like, so do you think you'll be fired in September, or do you think you make it to October?
Right.
How do you think that goes for you this year, Brian?
What's the over under? I got 3.5 games on you being fired, Brian. What your thoughts? Oh man.
But I'm continuing to look through this coaching list, and he's the only one. Like, I think he's the only one in danger of losing his job this year. I mean, look, things can happen, and look, maybe Missouri is so bad that at the end of the year they've just got to, regardless of how recruiting is going, they got to fire him.
See, year 3 or 4.
I think 3. I think.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. Year 3, recruiting the way he's recruited, hard to imagine. Yeah, it is year 3. Yeah. I don't think he's in any. I mean, a lot of this is, like, it really does. It has to do with what you do the rest of the year, and he's recruited well above their performance.
Yeah.
So I think he's fine. It's Brian with a Y, and everybody else.
Maybe it is Billy Napier. Maybe he's the second one.
Well, Florida,
they're not afraid to run you out of there, man.
You know, it doesn't take much.
If
Dan
you'd have told
Mullen
me
not recruiting well, bye.
But yeah, if you'd told me this time last year though that he would have been fired, I'd be like, no, you're crazy. Dan Mullen's not going to be fired.
He was in. That's the thing. He was in zero. He was on no radars at all, and he gets fired. So it is the SEC. Like, what if Texas A&M is just crap? Because I mean, if you're Texas A&M, you can say, "Hey, man, the collective is recruiting."
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are we going to see
like,
a payoff?
We'll still get recruits in here.
Yeah.
I mean, like something like that, but it's
Imagine
hard
that
to
buyout
imagine
numbers.
given his given the numbers on the buyout. Yeah.
That collective would drain up pretty quickly. Here, Jimbo, here's your buyout.
That's true. You got to take some of the
Joe, welcome back.
Money
It's
away.
good to have you back on the program here today.
Good to be back on the program.
We'll have you covered all week long with SEC Media Days. We'll keep you updated on the Nashville Predators and free agency as well, and training camp for the Titans just a little bit over a week away. That's going to do it for us today here on the program. The DDC coming up next. This is 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
You say he scored!